Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Liberty Libations. I almost said something else because I've been doing other podcasts, but speaking of, I'm in. Go ahead.
We're so professional, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm very prepared for this.
Mm-hmm. Jake's on other podcasts. You're on so many other podcasts you can't even remember the name of this.
You're promoting some other podcast, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Jake is away tonight. He's on the Geeky Gamer podcast. Probably, I don't know if they're recording, if they're live, but go check that out later and, bring back some things to make fun of Jake about. Mm-hmm. That'd be nice.
You should mention our sponsor, 14 Hands Wine.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Yeah.
So did I just hear a can crack, Alden?
I'm on like a cleanse month. This is like a weird shake thing.
Oh. Did I hear a can crack, or do I have?
Oh, that was
Zane's got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Since Steven's not here yet, I had to do the Foley work for the night. So this is a tangerine radler.
Nice.
Very refreshing.
Cool. That sounds good.
Nice.
I like a good radler.
And I have well, it's not tangerine. I have a strawberry White Claw, which is my least favorite flavor, but there we go. All right.
The strawberry, yeah, not so good.
All right, so we'll start off with promoting more drinking and alcohol. So our sponsor for this episode and every other is Rabbit Eye Wine. So I should have a glass of that. We have like 30 bottles in the house right now.
You do?
My wife loves it. She's never listened to an episode of this podcast. She just like met Will once and now orders the wine all the time. So we have a ton of it.
Yeah, fan club.
Yeah. So it's good stuff. Like I'm on the blueberry wine train. I'm looking down on grape wine now. Like, what is that crap? So go order some. Go to rabbiteyewine.com/shop and you can order it online. Or if you're in Georgia, there's tons of locations, or you can find it at liquor stores or package stores or grocery stores, maybe. I don't know if Will is respectable enough for grocery stores, but
zoom up by Ringgold or Chattanooga up there and see which one I can go. There's two over here. Okay.
Beverage World in Fordo.
All right, I'm going.
Yeah, and
I'll go there and get
Costco.
It since Jake still hasn't given me mine.
I know Costco's just on the map, but yeah, Beverage World. I know where that is. It's kind of in a sketchy parking lot. So
it is.
That
I've
tracks.
been in there once, actually. I didn't see the Rabbit Eye. They sell stuff for like brewing and stuff in there, I think, too. Like they sell grain and stuff. Or I think, if I'm thinking of the right one. But
no, I think you're right. There's like a Big Lots in that parking lot. And I remember when I was a teenager, I applied for a job there, or I tried to.
Really?
I walked in and they laughed at me. Like, why would you want to work here? Like, I don't know.
You have such a bright future ahead of you.
That's not a good start when they start laughing.
Yep. So just go check out rabbiteyewine.com. I think this dry variety may be kind of new or maybe Will's just hoarding it because I've never really seen him like pass those out before. When we get together, he always brings a case or two.
Yeah, it's his favorite.
I like dry wine, so yeah, he's probably sneaking to his truck and drinking that. But all right, so let's start with the first. Oh wait, I didn't introduce you guys. Nobody, if you don't know by now, Zane and Alden, and then I'm Zach. And we're all here drinking and talking Liberty. So, and here is the first thing, because even though Jake isn't here, he wants to run the show, and he wanted us to talk about the Chevron Deference, which if Zane didn't join, I have a feeling we'd have nothing to talk about.
I would think it has something to do with
don't get your
gasoline. I don't know.
Well, I guess it does have something to do with Chevron, the company, but maybe that's just coincidental, like they were part of whatever lawsuit, but I shouldn't even talk about it. So let's see. So here's Spike Cohen, someone who's much smarter than two of us on this call. So Spike, for those who don't know what Chevron Deference is and why SCOTUS ended it, here's the long and the short of it, which actually this is a little long for me. So the long and the long
the
of
long
it.
and the long, yeah.
All right. I'm actually not going to read all this. I want to hear what Zane has to say.
Yeah, just let Zane
tell us why this is important, Zane. Like, does this mean anything for the average person or for people who, want to see the government rolled back and have less interference in our lives?
Yeah, so it is a pretty big win. for all such people. I'm glad you brought up that tweet, because I was thinking, am I actually going to look into any of the practical applications of Chevron deference being overturned? And then I decided I was too lazy. So it looked like Spike is bailing me out by giving me one. But the backstory of Chevron deference is that, in the 80s, there was a Supreme Court case between Chevron, the gas company, and a federal agency. And the dispute was there was a certain the regulatory agency. Yes, let me back up. So, like, when Congress writes a law and passes a law, and then the president signs it, Congress is too lazy to actually stipulate every single detail about how they want the law to be enforced. What they will often do instead is draw out kind of the broad outlines of what they want to be achieved by the law, kind of the broad strokes of the regulations that they want. And then they will also create an agency and task that agency with actually coming up with all of the details of the regulations and figuring out how exactly the whole scheme is going to work. I said it was because they're being lazy. The legit argument in favor of doing it this way would be that, Congress people can't be experts in every single area that you might want to be regulated. So assuming that you like regulations, then you might think that it was good to have a regulatory agency somewhat independent of Congress that has more experts in it that could actually flesh this stuff out. Of course, none of us here like regulations. And of course, in the Federalist Papers, there were, founding fathers that warned about what would happen if you just gave regulatory bodies the ability to just come up with all their own rules, where you just be having so many laws come down all the time, nobody would be able to keep track of them all, and that would be terrible for liberty. And that is what happened when you have all these executive agencies that technically, yes, were established by Congress, but were not really given very big guardrails about how their powers should be enforced, because Congress kind of here's the broad strokes, now go run with it and do whatever you feel like. That obviously can lead to the regulatory agency coming up with way more rules even than Congress may have ever intended by the law. And that was what was at issue in the case that established Chevron deference in the 80s. It was a dispute between Chevron and one of those regulatory agencies, where Chevron was saying, these rules that this regulatory agency is trying to make us follow, not only are they not in the law that was passed by Congress, they're actually in contradiction of the law that was passed by Congress. They're going way farther than Congress ever intended when they passed this law. And it's just the bureaucracy is now essentially acting completely independently of Congress by trying to come up with this regulation. And the court decided, no, you can't argue that. We're going to defer to the interpretation of the law that is held by the executive agency or the administrative agency. So there is this concept of Chevron deference, where the court just kind of has to be okay with whatever interpretation of the law the administrative agency has, which means that for the past 40 years, administrative agencies have been able to do pretty much whatever they want, because they can be like, oh yeah, our interpretation of the law says that we get to do X, Y, and Z if we want. And if somebody says, no, it doesn't, and then they go to court and sue, then the court has to close their eyes to the actual law and just kind of agree with the administrative agency almost no matter what. And so that's what was overturned in this recent case, where the Supreme Court was like, well, actually, we are going to look at the law and check to make sure that the administrative agency is acting within it. So again, I don't like the fact that Congress is passing any of these regulations to begin with. But at least with Chevron deference gone, the administrative agencies are at least going to have to, hopefully confine themselves to what Congress actually said, and not what Congress said plus all these other things that nobody asked for.
Right. Yeah, I feel like if you're in contradiction to what was originally said, then it should be pretty clear that it's no longer even serving what Congress set out to, at least, whatever they were trying to regulate. I don't, whatever example, but anyway, yeah. I hear what you're saying. It's like, we don't want any really regulation, but if you're going to at least do it, at least let it not be a runaway train. But sorry, go ahead.
Right. So the specific tweet that Spike Cohen put out and that Zach just had on the screen was a description of the particulars of the case that got Chevron deference overturned, which is that there was this, small fishing company, I think, and they were being forced out of business because the relevant administrative agency, which in this case appears to be the National Marine Fisheries Service, whatever the hell that is. I had never heard of that before today. The swell people at the National Marine Fisheries Service decided that their regulatory oversight is so valuable that you have to pay them $700 per day for the privilege of being regulated by them, or else you're not allowed to be in business. And the small business couldn't afford that. And so they were going to have to go out of business. But luckily,
and some of them don't make $700 a day. Like, how much fish would that be? I mean, I'm guessing they're not fishing in their pond like I am, but
McGulliver's pool.
And so the big winners here are small and medium-sized businesses, because the huge businesses, first of all, are often the ones lobbying for more regulation on themselves, because they know that they're always going to have the lobbying power to get the laws written in such a way that they can get around them, or they have enough, they're big enough that, well, they're already employing dozens of lawyers, so it won't be that hard for them to comply with whatever the regulation is. But these small and medium-sized businesses don't have dozens of lawyers on staff, don't really have the power or the capital to comply with all of these regulations as they're coming down, which makes it really hard for them to compete, which the huge businesses know, which is why they like having these massive regulatory regimes, because they're the only ones that can actually handle it. And, from the government's perspective, it's a lot easier to control 3 or 4 huge companies than hundreds of smaller companies. There are actually socialists out there that will be honest and tell you that they actually have a bigger problem with small business than with big business, because it's easier to nationalize big business than small business. Small and medium-sized businesses is the backbone of how regular people actually become prosperous for themselves. I'm not going to go as far as calling everybody who works for a big company a wage slave. There are lots of people on the right that are happy to do that. I think that it's all well and good to work for a big company. You just have to understand that a lot of time the big companies are going to be incentivized to use the government to bully and push around the small businesses, and we should be aware of that. And Chevron deference was just one of the many ways in which that happened.
So one of the objections that I've been hearing is that it's like Congress doesn't know like what freon you should use or what the highway safety standards should be. And it's like they're getting into the minutia. But it sounds like from what you're saying, they would lay out like, here's an agency and here's a framework, stay within that. So is there any truth to like now Congress would have to pass every little regulation and every little minute law, or is that just, leftist preaching?
I wish that's what would happen, because that would be great. If you really think about it, if it's important enough that we're going to use the coercive, violent power of the state to enact a certain regulation, maybe it is important enough that Congress should actually pass whatever it is and not just defer their responsibility to the executive agency. Because Congress, whenever they're, having to justify any of their decisions to anybody, they can always be like, well, I'm not in charge of this. It's just the bureaucracy did this. And then, of course, the executive branch, like the president and the people he actually appoints, don't really have that much control over the bureaucracy either, because for over 100 years now, it's been almost impossible to fire anybody that works in the civil service, regardless of whether you actually like what they're doing or not. So the bureaucracy essentially becomes this fourth branch of government that nobody ever elected and can just operate like its own fiefdom.
Charging $700 a day for their services. Yeah.
So as much as I wish that it were the case that it actually would be Congress having to do everything, because this is, again, what the founders wrote about in the Federalist Papers, where anytime you can make laws without actually having to go through the process of making a law, if you can make something that has the effect of a law just because a bureaucrat wrote it down on a piece of paper and that was the end of it, then you're going to end up with a lot more laws than we probably should have. Also, I would question whether these people that work in the executive agencies are really going to make any decisions that are any better than what Congress would make. Because, yeah, Congress are not expert in all of these different areas like highway safety or refrigerators or whatever. But the so-called experts that are in these agencies, that you really think that they can make a decision that every single person in the United States would agree with or find best for them either? It's like the hubris that you would have to think that, no matter how much knowledge or expertise you had, that you should just get to decide for everybody in all of their vast and varied circumstances is ridiculous. Also, there's kind of the idea that the bureaucrats are acting completely impartially in their expertise when they're really not, because they're getting lobbied all the time. And lots of these people are ideologically on the left. So they just have in their mind that, oh, we need to be regulating more because that's what makes society better. Mm-hmm. So and this has been studied. When bureaucrats are making a decision about a regulation, they bend over backwards to find all these secondary and tertiary benefits of each proposed regulation. But then on the cost, they're like, oh yeah, there might be a little bit of cost, but who cares? So they completely underestimate, almost by an order of magnitude, the cost of the regulations that they're going to enact. So it's like they're only really seeing about 10% of the true cost of each regulation, whereas they're searching every nook and cranny they can possibly find for the benefits.
When you say cost, do you mean the downsides, not just financial costs, but the impact, the negative impact of the decisions?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it is obviously financial cost, either to businesses or to consumers, or people not getting a product that was as good as it may have been. So just downsides in general.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that bureaucrats do, and this has also been studied extensively as well, there's a whole field of economics called public choice economics that is just this, studying this idea, is that when a bureaucrat, you can very accurately predict what a bureaucrat is going to do by thinking about what would give that bureaucrat more power. So, if you're in charge of the National Fisheries Administration or whatever it is, if you come up with more regulations, well, guess what? You need more people to enforce those additional regulations. Now you, as the head of that agency, get more power and more prestige. So that's what you're going to do. Just like if you were, in charge of a certain part of a company, you would want to make decisions that would grow your part of the company so that you became more powerful.
I was going to relate it to the company.
In private companies, there's also the profit motive, where if you're making terrible decisions just because you want your part of the company to be larger, you're going to be fired because everybody else at the company will notice the terrible decisions you're making that's losing them money, and they're not going to be having that. Whereas if you're a bureaucrat, nobody can fire you. So there is no check to make sure that you're behaving yourself. So these agencies just grow and grow and grow for no reason.
Yep. Brian says, originally they had it so that bureaucrats had to at least pass exams to be competent, but now they don't even have to do that. And then some quack says, then they appoint a committee of citizen volunteers to do all their actual work. And I don't know if that's like, this is what she was talking about, but it kind of would be cool. You know, it's not libertarian, but if the regulators were just like the HVAC dude down the street and your mechanic and like the Maytag man and whoever else, just a bunch of like, you know, good old boys who are like, yeah, I know how to lay concrete.
When in reality, it's probably kind of the revolving door problem again, or like someone with some kind of knows somebody or vested interest or came from that sector or vice versa or whatever.
Oh, yeah. And probably somebody who's never done the work themselves. Like, I'm going to regulate fishing, even though I've never caught a fish in my life.
Yeah.
And my mom was a teacher, and she used to, she's still with us. She's just retired. So I realized I was about to talk about her in the past tense. But, like, she would say, like, all the secretaries of education and what, like, sometimes even the superintendents never been in a classroom a day in their life. And they were still like writing all these idiotic rules that they had to do that just did not work in practice.
Yeah.
All right. And here's Nick.
Nick, what's up?
What's up?
Yeah, I'm being late. Well,
it's all right. You were hitting the gym.
I did hit the gym. Yeah. Well, it's time to get back in shape. And since I only just rejoined the gym, joined the gym by my house recently, it's an LA Fitness.
No one told me it was time to get back in shape. I didn't get this memo.
Well, yeah, so I figured it's time to get back in shape. So they kind of sold me on the personal training.
Oh, cool.
I can lift and I can get as strong as I want, but cutting the excess, that's a little accountability goes a long way there. So that's what I'm deciding to go with, and
nice.
Giving that a shot to see if I can, get back into shape before
reach your final form.
Reach my final form.
Yeah, good on you, man.
Get back down to the, it'd be nice to get down the, the old wrestling weight.
Nice.
So,
do they have trouble coming up with other like big dudes to wrestle you, or is there plenty of them out there?
Well, when I was in high school, it was, it depends. I mean, I found places and I found people, but yeah, it wasn't always there. I mean, that was always the thing when in high school wrestling, right? It was your heavyweight and then your 103 pounder were like the hardest weights to find.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and for like heavyweight, at least you just took the fat kid from the football team and said, you're doing this. That's generally what happens. So like, half the time, good portion of the time you take forfeits because there is no one. A little bit of the time you get someone decent, and then the other part of the time you get the fat kid who has no idea what's going on. So
is 103 like the smallest weight? Like, is that like
that was they've realigned the I think they've realigned the weights a lot since I was there. Well, it's been 14 years. So but yeah, at the time it might be 105 now, but yeah, 103 was the smallest, and that was always a tough one because you're basically finding the smallest freshman you can and throwing them in there. And then by sophomore year, they're usually too big. Although I do remember one kid who wrestled 103 up through his junior year at another school in the section.
Late bloomer.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, sometimes people are tiny and sometimes they're,
Yeah. Maybe I should have wrestled. I weighed like 110 coming into high school and 120 all the way through college. So...
It's
and then I got a job and I gained a lot of weight because I'm sitting and eating.
Then I joined the workforce and I had to start eating and drinking to cope. Yeah.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, it was something, and
I gained a lot of weight when I started working at a bar because you don't really think about liquid calories all day, but just drinking beer just all day is just a really fast way to gain weight.
Well, like one of my friends,
would've
he
thought.
wrestled.
Yeah.
One of my friends, he wrestled. I think freshman year it was either 112 or 119. It might have been 112. It was one of those two. It's not like there's that much of a difference. And by senior year, he was wrestling 189.
Dang.
So like,
There you go. A lot of
You know.
sandwiches.
it's kind of fascinating sometimes when you consider that.
Well,
Yeah, man.
we were talking about Chevron deference before you got here, and mainly Zane was carrying the show. Cause,
Yeah, by we talking, yeah, right. We
Yeah.
mean Zane.
But so real quick, we had talked about. I don't even remember what I said. Honestly, it's one of those type of nights. But I know this is
Just the
funny
Prince of
and that it's a
Games.
reference.
I studied fish theory.
I studied fish theory in college. One of
So
my
they
cousins
should be on the
did
national
study.
whatever fishery.
Yeah, she studied poultry science. I know that's a thing. I don't know why you had to go to college to raise chickens, but she did.
I mean, I didn't study chickens. They're doing fine out here. Like,
Yeah. Well, you need to trust the experts, though. So you got to defer to my cousin in all chicken-related matters.
okay.
I need to run for township supervisor so I can get some chickens. Because I think the township ordinance is you have to have an acre to have 4 chickens, and I've got like a quarter of an acre, so I think I should be able to have.
So you should
4
have
chickens.
one chicken.
That would be a reasonable assumption, but
Right.
you're not going to get much out of one chicken. At least 4 chickens.
If my math is right, you know.
Chickens like to be together, too.
That's true. Mine are always like following each other in a group. I've got 5 out there.
Although
There's
I
sometimes
need to-
one loner, but
I think in
thinking
Cobb
about-
County, it's 5 acres or something ridiculous like
Oh,
that. And I
man.
remember when I was in college and I was like kind of looking into
for
the
a rooster
Libertarian
or
Party
for just chickens.
for chickens, like 2 hens, anything.
Because sometimes a rooster is a different thing because they noise
I
ordinance
kind of hate
stuff.
roosters. but-
Roosters are a nuisance, honestly. I get that. Like if you're really close houses and you've got a rooster in the backyard, that's obnoxious. But just
They
chickens
always
are,
crow next to your window. Like they
Yeah.
know.
I mean,
They know where you are.
I guess I could try to trap the rabbits I have back there because there's rabbits back there all the time.
Mhm.
I go out, take the dog out at night. There's usually 1 or 2 rabbits. The other morning there was a rabbit. And she saw it and went after it. Although
I
if
get some
keep
rabbits
them
down
back there-
here. Yeah.
I mean, my
I,
yard's fenced and the rabbits are there. I think I
Same,
found some
mine
of their
too. They
holes.
keep popping under somewhere. Yeah, I'm not even sure where, but I had a wild turkey in my yard the other day too.
Oh yeah, I checked my trail cams up at the property I hunt on Sunday,
Mhm.
and I found a couple pics of turkeys. I also found a pic of a nice buck right by my stand.
Nice.
Oh, it's so nice. It was nice. I saw
Tell them to hang out right there.
they're still in velvet, but he's had he had 4 on each side. His left Brian
Antler.
brow
It's not
tine.
antler.
That's what
I have
I
no
was. I
idea.
kept going. I kept saying. I was thinking brine towers. Brow tine.
It's like
right?
trivia.
So,
It's like that was my one
Yeah.
answer. I have no idea now.
so it was
Nice.
the one on the right was a little short, but the one on the left was like that. So I'm like, I don't know if it's the one I shot last year and didn't kill, because there was a decent one that came running right through there on me, and he came quick, and I pulled the shot whenever I had a quick second. But yeah, I guess you said Chevron deference.
Yeah.
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 We'll get back. I was going to say
Good
real
segue,
quick,
yeah.
the whole
Just wanna
Cobb
talk
County
manhole
thing
covers.
with chickens. I remember when I was in college and the Libertarian Party, or at least a few people like here in Georgia, were really on that in Cobb County. And they're like, we're going to try to make it so that you can have backyard chickens.
Mhm.
And I'm like, surely that's a slam dunk. Like nobody
Yeah.
can argue like you should have 2 hens in your backyard. Who cares?
Yeah.
And 5 acres in like kind of a somewhat urban area is unrealistic.
So
for most
only the
people.
millionaires can have chickens, apparently. Like,
And legitimately, like Cobb County, which is supposed to be a conservative county, it was like, nope, we're not doing it. And it failed. And I'm fairly sure to this day, Fulton County, which is, the city of Atlanta, that county, you can have chickens, but you can't in the conservative county to the north of it, which is bigger.
It's ironic for a county that's known for the big chicken.
That's true.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Only one chicken allowed.
The HOA Karens don't want you to have chickens for some reason, even though like if your yard's fenced, like I have I have like a vinyl privacy fence all around my yard. Like I could throw a chicken out there, and I don't think anything would be. I think I could get away with it for a while.
And if
Just
they
be like,
tell you
that's
to
a
get rid of
feral
it,
chicken. I don't
you
know
just
where it
cook
came
it,
from.
Just
Yeah.
ended up in the yard. I don't know.
All right. So back to Chevron deference. I know
Yeah.
Zane, I think, has explained it to us very well, and he's gotten into some of the like real world application. Like Spike was talking about the fisheries and being charged $700 a day for the privilege of being regulated when they might not even make that. I know the Libertarian Party of Georgia here. This was written by Brian Allen. This is his tweet, and he also wrote the resolution. We actually commended something for once. Like normally you think libertarians are just against everything and we want to condemn you for whatever the latest thing is, but the LP of Georgia passed a resolution to commend the overruling of Chevron deference. So go check that out at Allen for LP Georgia on X, or oh wow, that's couldn't make it fit on one page.
Just change your letting by like a decimal point there,
Yeah. So back to like sort of the everyman stuff. This is what I'm excited about. No idea if it's true, but this guy who says his Xander toucher of grass, so it's legitimate. He says, with Chevron deference struck down, I'm one step closer to realizing my Hilux dreams fulfilled. So are we going to get Toyota Hiluxes? That's all I care about.
God, that'd be so great.
Those things are indestructible. They're like the terrorist vehicle of choice.
I mean, they have good taste.
Look at that
respect.
So it's interesting that you brought this particular example up because it is, the perfect example of something that Chevron deference ruined. There was a meme going around several months ago. I don't know if any of you saw it. It was a picture of this really tiny truck and like a Toyota F1, a Ford F-150, and which is obviously has a huge cab. It's massive. But then if you actually look at the truck bed size, the truck bed size is the same, even though the small truck is like half the size. And some of the people that were commenting on it were like, oh, this is just late capitalism. Look at all these people that want a massive truck with no truck bed, unlike the working man that has a small truck with a functional truck bed. And then other commenters were like, the only reason that they don't make smaller trucks like that anymore is because they literally can't.
Yeah.
There's all these federal regulations that, and I don't know all the particulars about how exactly they work, but essentially it limits, what it has the effect of doing is limiting the size of the truck bed in relation to the size of the entire vehicle. So it's literally illegal to make a small truck with a big bed.
Well, also we have the CAFE standards is another one where it's like they basically take the footprint of the vehicle. And if it's a small vehicle, or, let's say if it's a big vehicle, they're like, okay, it has to get like 20 miles to the gallon. Like that's doable, I guess. Maybe not too big. But if it's a small vehicle, like an old, an old crap, I'm forgetting all the names of the trucks I love. Like the name one, Alden. Yeah,
like the old Nissan hardbody, just
yeah, something like that.
T1000, whatever.
Like those, it'll be such a small footprint that the gas mileage that it would have to achieve is impossible at this point.
That's actually the exact regulation that I was trying to come up with.
Well, and then there's also, I think, tax advantages to certain size vehicles as well, right? I mean, you hear about that with like the G-Wagon being so heavy, because if you have a car, if you have a vehicle that you use for work, if it's a certain weight, if it's over a certain weight, you can depreciate it more or something. So, it's all kinds of screwy.
Are electric vehicles going to get affected more by this because of the battery weight or whatever? That's just a thought.
I don't know, but I saw a Cybertruck in the wild yesterday. For the first time.
I was trying to think of like a Chevy S10.
My dad had one of those like when I was a kid.
Those are so cool.
Yeah, they're perfect. one of the workarounds for this is if something is classified agricultural, like if it's like in the UTV and tractor kind of like, farm equipment kind of a thing that's not like road legal, they can still sell, things like with the small footprint, and it can still be like a turbo diesel engine, because like we've demonized diesel engines in this country or whatever. And then you can just basically pay a company to like make it street legal with a couple of modifications and the paperwork for it and put some blinkers on it, and there you go, license plate, and just for anyone out there that is interested, because that's what I want to do.
Well, or you get like the little Japanese mini trucks.
Yeah,
those are pretty sweet.
I love those.
Apparently-
with the bed that you can like flatten out and get even bigger. It's like a cardboard box that like unfolds, and it can.
Yeah,
those things are.
I was
awesome.
looking into them at one point, and like you can get them modified in so many different ways, and set up so many different ways for all sorts of things.
Those little like mini cab Hondas that are like 4-wheel drive that like have like they're like wheels like this big, but they'll like go over crazy stuff. Like I don't know, those things are awesome.
I've heard those Japanese trucks like max out at like 25 miles an hour.
Oh, they're not fast.
It's like 35. Yeah, you're not taking them on
40,
highways.
No, they're not fast.
Yeah. I remember seeing some idiotic tweet about that where it's like Americans need this truck, and they show like a Ford F-150 when like Japanese get by on this, and you could plainly see a rice cooker in the back of the truck taking up like a fourth of the bed. Like, yeah, I don't think that's going to cut it.
No, not for everyone, but it should be available if you want it, like if you want it for that, but like if you'd like a little urban truck, like just to kind of like get somewhere and like haul your stuff to your, whatever, like if you find a fridge on the side of the road and want to bring it home, there you go. You can still find a way to do it. I promise you, those things can like, they're made for working. They're awesome. But
yeah.
Anyway,
some place down the road for me has a bunch of Japanese fire trucks, and that's just like the coolest thing to me. Like if
That's
Bitcoin
weird.
never goes to the moon, you will know, because I will have the dumbest crap.
Your background green screen will have to change to like your collection of like dumb crap.
Yeah.
I'd be excited to see that actually.
All right. Any more on Chevron deference, or do we explain that and talk through that enough?
I feel good on it. Yeah. What else you got?
It's a big win, so
Yeah.
that's
Dab on them.
All right. So let's move on to another economic topic here.
I have an economic rant from today.
You want to do that now?
Yeah, real quick. Georgia, I just fucking had to register our car. What the hell is like ad valorem tax?
Mhm.
Fuck that. What the fuck, man? I just had to spend $1,000 to register my fucking car. Oh my God, dude. Tennessee had that right, honestly. Tennessee was like, that'll be $23. And we were like, okay. And it's $23 every year for forever. And honestly, that's not that bad. This one is $23 every year, but the initial tax is a percentage of like the cost of the car or whatever. Anyway, fucking
Yeah, that's how Georgia used to be. And then they switched to this like lump sum thing. And for most people, like you go to CarMax or whatever, you buy a car, it's included in the price and you never even think about it. And you just pay it off with your monthly payment.
Right.
But yeah, it must really suck when you're moving in from another state.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, welcome. Give us $1,000.
Yeah.
I had to do it twice in 2 years when I moved from Pittsburgh to Texas. I think Texas might have been a difference in the sales tax on it or something. So, but, it cost a little bit. And then, I moved a year later to Georgia and I had to pay that. And
it's a pain.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's my rant. But
yeah.
Then
Brian says other states have it worse. They make you do a percentage every year.
Oh my God.
I didn't know states
insane.
did that, but I have a Costa Rican friend who's like, it's not even worth having a nice car here. You have to pay such a high percentage every year. Before too long, you've paid more than the car is worth.
Yeah,
in
it
taxes.
wouldn't take long, I would think. Yeah.
Is the is the emissions thing all of Georgia, or was that just Atlanta Metro?
No. It's
I don't have
Atlanta
that
and every
here.
county that touches it, basically.
Huh.
Okay, because there was that too, and that was annoying when I was there because they expired your registration on your birthday,
Mhm.
and I and I went back to Pittsburgh for my birthday, and I stopped like right before and got the admissions done. But then I forgot to renew the registration. I'm like, I'll do the registration, in a day or two once I'm up in Pittsburgh, and by the time I'm back, well, I forgot. And first day back, I was actually driving to an LP Fulton meeting. I got pulled over for that.
Mm-hmm.
Cop was behind me, just following me, ran my plate.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like
Atlanta and the counties surrounding it get a lot of crap like that. Like another one is like the burn permits. Like anywhere else in Georgia, I mean, I feel like you should just be able to burn whatever, as long as you're not being an idiot and like burning when it's 105 degrees out and super dry.
If it's a drought
whatever.
and windy and you've got embers going into dry grass or trees, it's like, okay, that's a bad idea. Like, or if you're burning like paint next to a nursery or something, whatever. But
blowing it into their window, whatever. That's not good. Don't do that.
There's some things that are like questionable here. Like, dude, I grew up in Florida, and the Florida bonfires are, I mean, just weird. And Haley one time was like, hey, my friends, from work are having a bonfire. Do you want to go? And I'm like, I don't know. What are they burning? She's like, what do you mean? Wood. And we get there, and it starts with wood. And then at one point they back up a whole fiberglass skiff, like a boat, like onto the fire. And they're like, this has been in the yard for years. I don't need it.
It's a Viking funeral.
With a fiberglass boat, yeah.
I wouldn't even assume that could burn.
What's that?
Fiberglass will burn, but that would be fun to inhale. Like, glass shards blowing everywhere.
That is gnarly.
That's why Alden is the way he is.
Too many Florida fires.
Yeah.
Oh man, we used to burn all kinds of stuff, but anyway.
So, since I got on late, I'm going to go ahead and share that I am drinking some Yinzer Pop.
Nice.
Allegheny River water, not soda.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
You spent almost a minute explaining what it is, and I still have no idea what it is.
I don't know. It just says Yinzer Pop.
What does it mean?
What does it
taste
like?
Alcohol?
I don't know. It's not alcohol. I don't believe it's alcoholic.
I've never heard anyone pronounce just alcohol like alcohol. Like with
I didn't mean to do that.
It almost was like you're going to say alcoholic.
I was going to say something else and just abandon it halfway through. So
I love like, those little details.
It says carbonated water, sugar, flavoring.
Carbonated river water. Perfect.
What Pittsburgh slang do you actually use like day to day? Like, would you say yins?
I generally don't, but I could.
Does anyone say yins?
Would your neighbor?
The older people absolutely will. There's that generational gap. But I mean, it's sometimes the inflection. So you've got, pop is a common one, right? It's not soda, it's pop.
It's Coke.
But instead of like you might say iron or downtown.
Iron.
What is iron?
Iron. It's
like iron.
Like
iron. Iron. Yeah.
Okay.
Iron.
It just sounds like a southern accent.
Yeah, it did kind of honestly.
Yeah,
too many irons in the fire.
You drink an Iron City beer?
Iron City.
Oh, okay. Somehow,
Aren't you drinking Iron City?
Pennsylvania has like Pittsburgh has a worse southern accent than the South. Like crick, I will never get over. That sounds so redneck to me. But
it's a crick. I don't know what you want to say. The national bird is a bald eagle.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
It's an eagle.
Eagle?
Eagle.
Yes.
Is every state like this, or is Pennsylvania just kind of insane? Because I know, like in Philadelphia, they have water, not water, and then Middle Pennsylvania, they have all sorts of different like slang, and some of it's from like German. I never heard anybody say this, but it's always the example they would use. They'd be like, rather than saying the milk's gone, they'd be like, the milk's all. I'm like, I've never heard anyone use that in real life, but they would like swear that's Middle Pennsylvania stuff. So
it's like another country.
Yeah. Brian's right. Yeah, Warsh is a thing. There's Mount Washington, George Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Nick, while we're on the topic of Pennsylvania, I have something I wanted to see if you have heard of. when my family lived in Maryland, there was an amusement park we would sometimes go to called Dutch Wonderland. That was the Pennsylvania Dutch themed like ride park. Have you ever heard of this?
I believe I've heard of it. I've never been there.
That's amazing.
We got Kennywood out here.
I've never been to it, but I've driven by it, and like Pennsylvania seems to be all about amusement parks too.
Don't they have Hershey Park up there too?
Hershey Park.
Yeah, the chocolate
and then, like,
amusement park.
In Lancaster, they're real. Well, it's not even there, but they're real proud of Knoebels, which I still don't even know how to say that.
What is that?
We just had
right.
an LP. We just had an LPPA summer picnic event there.
Nice.
Because there's no like admission fee to get in. It's just admission. It's still like ticketed per ride.
Neat.
And
I was telling Nick the other day, Pennsylvania is the last place I've ever been able to pump gas first and then go in and pay.
Oh, you know what? In like the middle of nowhere parts of the world, you can still do that. Basically, Idaho, we like vacationed out there, and there were spots like that. But it's because their pump system was so old. Yeah. There was a man that was in the store, and he had binoculars, and you'd come in, and he'd be like, and look with the binoculars and be like, that'll be $22.50, because he saw and then he's like doing the math times the gallon price or whatever. He's looking at the old wheel on the pump. Anyway, so if you find an old enough pump,
the last place like that was on Lookout Mountain that I went to, and we parked
up here
and, like,
where I'm at. Like,
yeah. And we like started to use the gas pump, and somebody came out. It's like, hold on, I have to put this part on it first, and then like fiddled with it for like 5 minutes. And like, all right, now you can pump gas.
What? Man, that's funny. Well, this has been quite a tangent from. I just started the rant of the ad valorem tax or whatever it is, and so if you wanted to get back to the other story, feel free to segue back. But
I caught this. I caught him pull it up. I know what this one is, and it's painful.
Yeah. So another economic topic here is inflation up or down. This is posted by Tara Bull, but I don't know who this chick is, but she's terrible in IRL. So let's listen to what she has to say.
This is why you feel poor when you go to the grocery store, even though inflation is actually down. If you bought this and this in 2020, it's like $10. Now, 15. Why so much if inflation isn't up 50%? It's something called a permanent price adjustment. So even though inflation's come down, it doesn't mean that people who previously raised their prices are also going to decrease prices. In fact, they're probably going to keep them high. So the grocery store is going to continue to punish you even though inflation's gone down. So you're not going crazy, you're paying way more.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
okay,
there's actually a very twisted way in which she has a point, because Austro-libertarians are constantly complaining that people think about inflation as a rise in prices when, as Austro-libertarians, we would correctly understand inflation as an increase in the money supply. Mm-hmm. And so it is theoretically possible for prices to move independently of the overall money supply. Like, there are all sorts of things that could cause prices to go up or down, like shortages of a particular thing, or just changes in demand that can make prices go up or down regardless of what's happening to the monetary base. Of course, when you increase the monetary base, prices are bound to go up eventually, which is why everybody confuses those two things. And obviously, in this case, the reason why prices are still high is because she doesn't understand how like percentages work. Like, if there's been an amount of inflation in the money supply that has then caused the price of groceries, I think in her video, to go from $10 to $15, and then they stop printing money as aggressively as they did before, that doesn't change the fact that all the money they printed already is still out there in circulation. The system. So even if the prices aren't going to continue to go up as much, they're not going to magically go back down to what they were, or else the only way that could happen is if you vacuum up all the money that you injected before.
Yeah. If the rate of filling the pool water slows, the water is still in the pool, so all the floats in the pool are still high. You know what I mean?
That's like, a great analogy.
And it's still going up because you're still filling it, just not at at
and it's
such
still
a high rate.
slowly. It's like, oh, but the rate of inflation is slowed, and so the prices should reflect it. It's like, no, like the base of water has grown significantly. Anyway,
Right. Yeah.
So this isn't Kroger's fault. Like they're not doing this to us.
it's not Kroger's fault, unless Kroger is also involved in the Fed. Then it's Kroger's fault. But
No.
But yeah, it's absolutely. But you know that even though Zane's making the point that yeah, she's kind of got a point because XYZ, but you know that's simplistic. This is pure internet propaganda, I think, and I don't know what account this came off of or who this person actually is. But this is the kind of thing where you know it's probably, if you look, it's probably someone funded by, you know, a PAC or some political entity or nonprofit or something like that that's trying to manipulate you into believing, oh no, actually, you know, into trying to say, oh, inflation came down, so prices should come down with it, even though, you know, as Alden said, it's all about, you know, you filled the pool up and everything rose, and you're still filling it up because the Federal Reserve believes that filling it up 2% per year, well, I guess raising your prices 2% per year is a good thing for the economy, and is necessary. Why 2%? I don't know, because it's small enough that you don't really realize it. So it's definitely, you know, I feel like that's definitely not a natural video that came out of the ether. I feel like it's probably planted by someone for some reason.
Because it's probably easiest to see the flaw in her logic when she says, you know, the grocery store is punishing you. The grocery store has no authority over you. They can't punish you. If it were really the case that it were possible to furnish you with groceries for significantly less than your current grocery store currently is, other grocery stores would just have a lower price and then you would go there. So the fact that for some reason that's not happening disproves her assertion that also, the grocery store is punishing you.
Don't grocery stores buy their stuff from someone else too, and are they raising their prices, the wholesale prices, and so they're just adjusting? Like the grocery store's profits might be the same every time, like they might not be making any more or less, I don't know.
Yeah, the grocery businesses has famously low margins. So the fact that everybody's complaining about the corporate greed of grocery stores is really hilarious.
Yeah.
Isn't their model basically
volume?
You have to buy shelf space to put your product on it. Like their margin is maybe like 2%, and everything else
is it that low? 2%?
I think it is like 2%.
That's pretty low, man.
And then it's product placement that gets them the rest of the way.
That's really low considering they end up actually food wasting, like throwing away quite a bit of things like produce and stuff too.
That may be really included in the margin too or something. Well, I'm not quite
sure. There's a grocery store down the road from me called not Food City, Food Depot, where it's like they have big signs on the wall. They're like, we buy everything and then mark it up 10%. That's what they say. And that's like what every price is. Like they buy something, you're going to pay 10% more for it. So you would think like if they're, you know, grocery stores are punishing you, either this one is lying or that would just be free from inflation. So.
Yeah.
So what would it take for inflation to actually come back down?
Like deflation?
Yeah. Like what would that look like?
The government not issuing new bonds at the same rate that it's paying off the old ones, because that's really the only thing that can suck money out. Is that if you know, and specifically it's with the Fed. So if you've got this is always really complicated to try to envision in my head. So Nick, if you could explain this better than me, then go ahead. But it's that if the Fed decreases the amount on their balance sheet, so if they own U.S. Treasury securities, so if the U.S. government owes the Federal Reserve money because the Federal Reserve has purchased U.S. government bonds, what the Fed can then do is, as the U.S. Treasury pays them back, if they can get the money and then essentially just destroy the money, because the same as how the Federal Reserve can electronically create money out of thin air, they can also electronically destroy money the same way.
Well,
They keep the payment and then just say, okay, that money we just got, it's now gone. Poof. That's really the only way that money can be taken out of the system.
well, you could theoretically, and this is me just speculating on it also, but you could set the if well, I don't want to say set, but in some ways you kind of have to. If the interest rate was high enough on a government issued bond where people were happy to buy it and hold it versus buy it and then sell it on the secondary market to the Fed, then you're going to pull private capital into that as a safe and secure asset with a good investment. And as that private money in the market is flowing into there, it's not gonna circulate, and the overall money in circulation would theoretically decrease. Now you'd have to pair that with spending cuts and be able to afford that, but I think theoretically that would work.
So filling the
Real
pool
quick.
slower
Hold
than
on,
the
hold
rate
on,
of
hold on.
evaporation.
We got Steven joining us.
Steven!
Hey, fellas, what's up?
What's going on? And I see your thank you for the can crack. We were sorely lacking them earlier, and
Is he drinking Yinzer Pop too?
I see
Maybe open it.
your sub headline says you don't shop at Chevron. We already talked about that, unfortunately. So
Oh yeah, I get all my gas at Exxon. So
yeah.
That's all Standard Oil, isn't it?
yeah, that's right. We need
It
some
always
Hess
used to
down
be.
south.
Some what?
Some
HEB?
Hess gas
Hess,
station.
you said?
Oh,
Yeah.
Hess.
Yeah,
Like the old
Just-
toy trucks kind of thing.
You got to get the sheets to come
Yeah,
down.
Sheetz
I
is
know
awesome.
they're in North Carolina because I stopped at one when I was driving back up here. You
Although
just
we
need
have
to know a
Buc-ee's
little-
now.
I know, and I'm jealous of that.
But I mean, Sheetz, Turkey Hill, and Wawa combined are good enough. You don't need Buc-ee's on top of that.
I ate way too many Wawa subs when I was a bartender because it was like the only thing open. It was Waffle House and Wawa subs. All the W stuff. And Walmart, they're all open in like
and
24 hours.
Whataburger.
Whataburger, yeah. All the W's it's the late night stuff.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah, I recommend avoiding the Wawa, and I've never been to a Turkey Hill. I've heard it's not great. I don't know.
Just their tea is good and their ice cream, but
That's it.
it's also available at the grocery store. So
yeah. Turkey Hill. I think Ingalls sells that.
I didn't know it made its way down. Oh yeah, Ingalls has all sorts of cool stuff, and a lot of it Pennsylvanian. Like that's the only place you can get sweet bologna or Lebanon bologna. No, that's how they say it.
You pronounce it bologna?
That's how they pronounce it.
Okay.
Well, if it's sweet, I guess it is bologna.
It's good. It is
Is
so
it still
good,
all
though.
beef? How do you do that?
I have no idea. I'm not asking questions. I'm just eating it.
It's what they fed that beef that's troubling them. Yeah.
All right.
So we were talking inflation right before you joined. We just watched some idiotic video where some chick was telling us that it's the grocery stores punishing us and that they raised prices and now inflation's solved. Biden
There's some
did it.
morons on Facebook down here around Fayette and Coweta County, on the Sonoya Locals page, on the Fayetteville page, on the Fayette County discussion page. Every now and then you get somebody that'll post some crap like that about the gas station made record profits. And Zane, I'm sure you already hopped all over this. Gas station made record profits, and all they're looking at is revenue. They're not looking at actual profit margins.
That's not profit.
That's exactly right. After taxes are paid, after your employees are paid, after you pay for your property and your insurance and the cost of
considering
operation.
your costs for the product.
Yes.
So your
yeah.
revenue is higher, but if your costs are higher, the profit margin could be this exact same or less even. That's
right.
That's not what profits even are. Just like that's not what inflation is to talk about a price raise. This is not what profits are. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. Well, and of course, the one everyone loves to go after is like Publix, because Publix shopping is a pleasure at that place. But
we pleasure our shoppers. Yeah.
It does cost a lot. Like if you don't go on a day where they're honoring the double coupons and they have some kind of 2-for-1 special, which it is possible to navigate there to get out of there cheaply. You just gotta be savvy with it. You got to time your entry. You got to know when the deals are happening. You got to talk to the manager.
Yep, I got a plan. Yep.
Right. I used to do that back in the day. I mean, I would get all the coupon books, and I had talked to all the managers of all the local grocery stores, and I figured it out, like when they doubled their coupons. And I was actually getting toiletries from like the pharmacies, because they would put stuff on sale, and then they would do like double manufacturers coupons, and so like you could get laundry detergent at Walgreens way cheaper than Kroger or Ingles.
I used to work at Walgreens, and the laundry detergent was like one of the things, paper products, eggs, and soda were like some of the hot things that would like get people in the charts, door.
Bro.
Yeah.
You guys would, I mean, it would be a loss leader. I didn't know how you made any money on it.
They don't make money on those like that day. They hope that people are in there and buy other stuff when they're in there kind of thing, but they don't make much on the, so they might make, I don't know, like we were talking about like 2% margin or something crazy low thing or something.
And
but
I don't want to run a lemonade stand for 2% margin. And, back to Publix, because they're talking about that. That's the easiest one to attack, because that's, by far, if you just buy brand name stuff blindly and you go to Publix, that's going to be around here. That's the most expensive grocery store there is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you have a Trader Joe's around the corner or a whole paycheck.
Yeah.
Something like that.
A whole paycheck.
So, Steve, were you the original extreme couponer then?
Yeah. Well, I didn't go too extreme with it, but it got to be a lot of work. And then, I finally got a raise at work, and I started making enough money to not care about that so much.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Publix app, like it'll have you like digitally clip coupons.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, it really lays bare what the point of a coupon is, which is price discrimination between people that aren't going to spend the time to actually clip the coupons and are just going to pay full price versus the people that are going to spend the time to get the coupon because they couldn't afford it without the coupon. It's really brilliant, but also frustrating.
It is.
Well, you'll also see that like with Amazon now too, where something will be discounted 10%, but you got to click the checkbox.
Yeah,
although it might still apply, or I mean, it still might apply it. I'm not quite sure, but I've seen that somewhat frequently.
Well, real quick, since we're on this topic anyway, this is something Steven sent in that I found interesting from MSN.com. The scary new way you're about to get overcharged for everything. And basically it's talking about algorithmic pricing and algorithms deciding what you can pay and what things may be worth at the time, and giving everybody
based on you personally, like if you make more money or if you are in a different area or whatever. Like,
I think so. It says what's far more disturbing is the rise of personalized pricing, their practice of exploiting your own data to charge you the precise prices you're willing to pay, which might be different from what the guy next to you would pay.
This has been going on a lot with like already in airline tickets.
Yes.
That's the big one.
You turn on the private browsing and then search for the same airline ticket. Like, why is it cheaper all of a sudden?
Yeah, hell yeah. Turn off the cookies and like go into like private mode, and it doesn't know. And if you have an IP scrambler or whatever, a VPN, like it doesn't know where you are. Like, and if you don't type in, like if you just type in, I'm flying out from here, show me what all the prices are where I can land. But if you say, I want to go to Beijing, then it's like, it knows where you want to go. And it's going to, now those are more expensive. Like, so the plane ticket thing, this has been going on for years actually. Yeah. And I feel like it's been sort of like where they like learned how to like fine tune this or whatever.
Well, and Clark Howard's been talking about this on and off for a couple of years now with like car insurance. So a lot of folks are like, oh, well, I've been with Progressive for 20 years, or, like my mom, I've been with State Farm for 40 years.
Yeah.
They don't reward you for that loyalty.
No,
that used to mean something. Like, I don't know, pre 9/11, let's say. That used to mean something.
Yeah.
You used to be able to call the phone company and be like, I've been your loyal customer for 30 years. I'm pissed off. And they'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. Here's a free month.
Yeah.
But now they've got these algorithms in the background. I'm like, that schmuck isn't going anywhere. They're too lazy.
Mhm.
We got them.
Yeah.
Track their price up 15%. Everybody else will get 7%.
Dude, hire a broker, like an insurance broker to find you the best price. We did that when we did our house and car when we bought the house, and like, whoa, worth it, man. Like, because get someone on the inside that knows the system and let them just like beat it for you. I don't know, because they came up with something where we were like, dude, I looked around and I did not get a number that low, like when in my own due diligence kind of thing. So,
well, I have a question.
Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
No. Well, it was a question directed towards you anyway, so say what you want after this. But so I was, reading a little bit recently about the congestion pricing in New York City and this sort of like, idea of charging what they think something is worth at the point that you're buying it. And in this case, it's roads, so I know it's messy because they're government owned to begin with. But like, what is
roads?
Exactly. But I mean, is that a libertarian answer, or is that an Austrian economics? Like, is that sound by Austrian economics to be like, well, you came in at rush hour, so we're charging you more, or, maybe grocery prices are higher during the rush hour because they want to encourage people to come on off hours.
it's like called like shouldering, like to get people to like come off of the peak popular time.
Yeah, I'll say that doesn't feel good. I don't like the idea of it, but what do you think about that from our perspective?
Right. So first of all, the government doesn't know what anything is worth. So if it's the government doing it, then it's just a priori being done poorly. But if roads were
good night, Grumpy.
If we had private roads, then yeah, that's exactly what would probably happen, and it would make sense because if assuming we don't want literally everybody to try to go home right at 5:00, then if it's not as important that you be on the road right exactly at that time, then it makes sense for you to pay less for going at a different time. Like if you have a flexible schedule and you can go home at 3:00, then whoever is in charge of the road could incentivize you to do that by charging you less because you're going at a time when there is not as much demand for that particular thing. And so it's a beautiful example of how market prices kind of work out for everybody, because the person who's going home at an off time pays less, and fewer people are going home at the peak time because there are reasons to not go at that time unless you really need to. And so like for all these other things that are now going to start surge pricing, like I heard that Wendy's is apparently going to start surge pricing, and everything else in that article that's like, oh, the scary way you're going to be charged more for everything. Well, the flip side of being charged more is that there are often going to be cases where you're charged less if you're doing things at times when not a lot of other people are doing them. So there is that element of it. And I mean, it's essentially the same idea as like, senior discounts at restaurants or like happy hour, or it's like any sort of thing where they can charge people that are able to or willing to pay less,
or matinee movie prices or whatever.
You would think that people that are on the left would actually be happy about this, because it would be companies identifying privileged people that can pay more and charging them more.
And it lowers the carbon footprint if there's lower traffic jam problem. Like you would think they'd be happy about that too, like whatever.
But the other thing I'll say about this is that I think that the panic over it is really overblown, because at the end of the day, it's not just demand for that particular product that determines what the price is. It's also what a seller is willing to sell it for. So it's like, imagine if I was willing to pay $5 for a carton of eggs. That doesn't mean that I'm going to have to pay $5 for a carton of eggs, because, if the production cost of a carton of eggs is only $1, then, a public can read my mind and they know, I'll pay $5 for eggs. And let's say like, for this basket of groceries, I'll pay $60. that doesn't mean that they can hold a gun to my head and force me to pay $60 for it, even if that's what I would have paid, if I can go somewhere else and pay less. So there's the other side of it.
But that article was also focusing on like the AI data mining aspect of things as well. How Amazon in congested inner city areas has the same day delivery, and the way they do that is oftentimes they predict your next order with a scary level of accuracy. Like
Wow.
they've already got.
That's actually a good use of AI.
Right. But that also has a negative aspect to it, because if they can predict your behaviors in such a way, then they can also predict your habits and somewhat manipulate them.
Yeah, they can know how much money you make, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. They can take in certain socioeconomic factors. The way you act on certain days, like payday. Hey, he's going to buy the expensive beer on payday. So we know.
Well,
That's a great example.
If I'm gonna do that, I may as well see him, and then it's my responsibility to not buy it if I don't want to buy it. This is my opinion on all of this like surveillance stuff. The reason why all of like the AI and companies that are collecting your data, the reason that's really bad is because they're all in cooperation with government, and government is the one that ultimately has the guns. If it were all just a bunch of companies that were using my data to actually serve me better, then most of the time I would think that was a perfectly legitimate business.
Yeah. I mean, but it's just some of the examples they threw out, like the airline stuff. I mean, that's right there in your face. I mean, like you can do that right now. Like you can go look for an airline ticket, and then you can pull up a different browser, turn on the private browsing, or if you've got a VPN, this is even better. You get a VPN and say you're from a third world country. Watch the price of that ticket drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way it works too is that when you visit it the second time, they're like, all right, the first time they were just looking for options. Now they're ready to buy. So let's jack up the price a little bit. So, they set a cookie or whatever where they're like, all right, this is his second time here. Let's go ahead with the higher prices.
Yeah, so the AI is secretly Persian. Maybe some kind of Korean mixed in there.
Very hairy.
It's just how they do business. The Persians get upset if you don't haggle over pricing. Seriously,
I mean,
if you just walk up to a bazaar on the side of the street and you're like, "Hey, how much for this?" $10. Okay, thanks. Well, screw you too. Like they get
Where
mad.
did I see this?
You'd be like, "No, $10 is a ripoff. I'll give you $8." And they're like, $9.50. Okay, deal. Thank you.
What movie is there where it's like somebody is like trying to buy something to hide from someone chasing after them, and like this whole thing breaks out? It's like a comedy.
God, that sounds like a Leslie Nielsen movie.
It would be kind of like that, but I can't remember what it is. But it's like a whole thing where they get upset that he doesn't try to haggle because he's in a hurry or whatever. I don't know. I can't place what it is at all. I gotta find this.
I had an encounter with a Uber driver in Argentina where it's like we took this ridiculous ride that ended up coming out to the equivalent of $1. So I gave him $2, and he's like, "No, this is too much. It's 100%." And then my friend who's Costa Rican with me is like, "Yeah, Zach, that's too much. You tipped 100%. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care."
Yeah.
Like I actually still feel cheap.
Yeah.
So
I lose this in my couch cushions every day, bro. Like this is.
Yeah. All right. Are you guys ready for trivia?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, here goes. As soon as I find the thingy.
I heard the music earlier.
Yeah, I accidentally played it for a minute. Here goes. All right. Oops. Nope, not drunkard. Trivia. And trivia layout. All right. And then I have to present the screen.
Shouldn't I be up where you are?
We're like in sync here. Oh, we moved.
All right.
All right, everyone.
We're playing it 1 degree louder tonight because Jake's not here. So we're blasting the Fat Rat.
Where's Jake slacking off tonight?
He's on another podcast.
He's cheating on us.
Oh, yeah?
Hanging out with the geeky gamers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is? Geeky gamer?
Yeah.
God, instead of his libations duties.
Sure.
We should vote the fire. We should unionize, vote to fire him, and install Zach as host.
I mean, I do not prepare nearly as well as he does. Like,
And
you'll
Zach-
notice there's
Zach cheats
no
on us,
headlines
too.
at the bottom. Yeah, that's just what,
There's no passion.
yeah.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Libations Trivia. The format, as usual, is round 1, 8 questions, 1 point each. Round 2, 6 questions, 2 points each. Round 3, 4 questions, 3 points each.
It's kind
I
of a
must
three
admit-
mat.
What?
Sorry. There's 3 rounds. 4 mat, 3 mat is a bad
Oh.
joke.
Clever.
Sorry.
So I have to admit that 2 weeks ago, trivia was probably harder than it should have been. So I think today will be a bit easier. Alden, I was kind of disappointed because I had an entire category about movies, and then both Jake and you weren't here for it.
Oh,
Was that 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago that I did well on one? I can't remember. When was
what were
last
some of
time I
the
was on?
movies that you covered?
Audience won last week, I think,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I wasn't on last
off.
week.
which I sabotaged Steven by helping the audience.
Yeah.
I
It was
missed
always
that
a
one.
tie-breaking question. I was like, oh.
You got to do what must be done sometimes.
That's right.
Also, I'll be keeping score tonight because I don't trust Zach to do it correctly.
Yes, please. Thank you. I was actually thought about that 30 minutes ago. Like, I should ask somebody else and then forgot.
It'd be
Also,
really
Brian-
great if at the bottom of each of our screens, where we're on camera here, if it showed our score live. So maybe Jake needs to look into doing that.
Yeah, we'll put in that request to the graphics department.
Trivia is great.
I'm
Brian
requesting it
says
right
that-
now. I just expect Jake to listen to this whole thing and hear me requesting it.
Yeah. Brian says that his weekly pronouncement that the trivia section is rigged. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's
Brian,
like-
joke's on you if you win it for the audience.
We absolutely did
against
not
the
plan
audience.
that Steve was
Yeah.
going to win this week. That was not planned.
The election was rigged.
Well, we both have different handicaps. You know, like the audience can Google and we're staring at our screen.
And
We
I'm
can't.
ADHD.
But they have the delay and we don't. So, all right, take it away, Zane.
All right.
All right, our categories for today. These were going to be my 4th of July categories, but then we didn't have an episode last week. So I'm using them to this week instead. Round
Jake
1,
is cheating
American
on us.
history. What?
Hannah, Jake is
Hannah just
cheating
popped
on
in.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's hanging
I'll
out with
answer.
another podcast tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, very disloyal. Round 1, American history. Round 2, American music. Round 3, American literature.
Mark Twain.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
You're laughing. Question 1. Pictured here is the Temple of Music from the 1901 Pan American Exposition, in which William McKinley was assassinated. In what city did this take place? Nick.
I'm going to go with Chicago.
No. Zach.
St. Louis.
No. Alden.
Kansas City.
No. Steven.
Alexandria?
No. Nick.
Philadelphia.
No. Nick.
Cleveland.
No. Alden.
Nashville.
No.
That wasn't
All right.
in 1901.
Steven.
New York.
No, but that's the closest that anybody's gotten so far. So there's your hint. Nick.
Boston.
No. Alden.
Atlantic City.
No. Zach.
Trenton.
No. It's a
Georgia.
city that has an NFL team. Steven.
Baltimore.
No. Alden.
Buffalo.
All right. Someone finally got it.
Yay.
Yes.
I've
It only took 32 guesses, which is one per team, actually.
I used to go out to where I used to work. The plant it was in Niles, Ohio, the birthplace of William McKinley, and I used to eat at the restaurant across the street from his birth house.
Nice.
Okay.
Stupid facts.
Wasn't he killed
Yeah,
by an
I mean-
anarchist?
He was, and I thought
Not a
about
good
putting
guy.
that in the question, but the
Not a
name
good
of the
guy.
guy that shot him is really hard to pronounce. It's like Leon Chogols, but spelled with like all sorts of like Z's.
Choke
and
balls?
G.
Okay,
My
so
family
he
was
was a pink-haired basement-dwelling anarchist.
no,
Not
he
a-
was
not a
an
suit and
anarchist that
tie.
actually worked for a living. So much better than the
What?
those.
No, you can't be a leftist anarchist and work for a living. You have to go protest Cop City and
You can plant really
get
shitty
indicted on
gardens.
RICO charges.
So
Rico.
my last fall, my family and I went up to see Niagara Falls, and we stopped at the monument that was put at the spot where McKinley was assassinated. So me and my sister took a photo of me pretending to be shot. So that was pretty tasteful.
Sounds
In
about
good
right.
taste, yeah, right.
Nice.
You should do that.
I asked my
if you
parents
ever,
if they had that photo, but they didn't respond.
They don't
That's
want
like
that
if you go to
circulating.
Ford Theater in DC, you should find the box Lincoln was shot in and reenact that too. Like that.
All right. Question 2. What Ford model sold from 1958 to 1960 was marketed as a car? Oh, under the new rules, I'm actually supposed to stop reading the question when someone puts their hand up. So Alden,
The Falcon.
no.
Carry on. Sorry.
Was marketed as a car of the future, but criticized for its poor workmanship, name, and ugly vertical grille, among other things. Zach,
I don't even know if this is Ford, but the Novo.
no.
The Novo. What's the Novo?
Steven,
Mustang?
no.
No, that was 64 and a
Nick.
half was the first year.
I'm pretty sure this car came later. I'm just gonna guess the Pinto.
No.
Yeah, it is later, I think, yeah. But was trash, yeah.
I just know Novo didn't do well in Mexico because it means no go, or maybe no. I meant to say Nova. Whatever.
Nova is what I thought. Is it the Fairlane?
That's a Chevy.
No.
Nova.
Okay, I didn't know.
Chevy Nova. Chevy Nova is a great car, actually. Yeah.
Some clack
named
says
after-
Galaxy.
No, it's not that. It's named after one of Henry Ford's relatives, but it's a name that's not really common anymore. Steven?
Gertrude.
No.
That's along
but you're
the
on the right
lines that I was
track.
thinking, yeah.
Nick?
Adolf.
No. Zach?
Frenchie.
No.
Brian says
Oh, the audience gets it. It's the Ford
Okay.
Edsel.
I didn't
No
even
one
know
has ever
Edsel
named Edsel.
was a name.
The fix is in.
Edsel?
I didn't even know how to pronounce that.
Is that a girl's name?
No, it's a guy's name.
It's
See, I
a
wasn't
day's
even
name.
sure. Edsel. It's a car's name.
All right.
I know a good bit about cars, and I've never heard of that.
Question 3. These are the coat of arms of Cecil Calvert, the first administrator of the colony that would become what state? Alden.
Maryland.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
That was
It
looks
yeah,
a
the
little
coat of
like
arms was pretty
The
clear,
flag,
yeah.
yeah.
You had a 1 in
Well, the-
13 chance.
The coat of arms here is almost exactly the flag, like the shield in the middle of the coat of arms
Yeah.
is pretty much the flag. It's the
Yeah.
only flag that's based off of like a coat of arms.
Is this like a modern interpretation? Because these cats look funky.
Well, usually
No,
they're lion. Well, usually when you see cats in it, they're lions, but these are jaguars.
Yeah, but they look very cartoonish.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like something of the time.
They just came from Pride Fest. Like,
Fried.
It almost looks like 3D. You would
Yeah,
expect like that old like English tiger where no one's actually ever seen a tiger.
Well, it's a modern
A
rendering.
liger.
Okay.
Fun fact about coats of arms, it's that when you're granted the coat of arms, you're really only granted the description of it, and then it's kind of up to you to display
The
them
interpretation.
how you want.
Is this kind of like the governing body that decides and interprets like the law later, you know, like
All right, this is the end of that analogy.
moving on.
the Chevron arms.
All right. Question 4. What Italian-American chef misspelled his name on his product so that people would pronounce it correctly? Steven.
Boyardee.
That's
Chef
yeah.
Boyardee.
Oh, that was my guess. Dang it. Good call.
Otherwise, we'd say Boyardee. That might have been what it
That's
is.
why
honestly.
Boyardee.
Well, remember at one point Italians were heavily discriminated against because they were mostly just criminals.
I had to check and make sure his name wasn't the name of that Ford car because it looked the same to me.
The Ettore part.
Yeah,
I like this hat that has the Boyardee. Like that's great.
he had to spell it out for us Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know the number of wrinkles in his hat means he can prepare eggs that many ways.
Very good memory.
Yeah.
And then we got Spaghetti O's. He's really just trying to help us spell here.
So can vegan chefs not wear a hat? Like, I don't prepare eggs.
No, it's just perfectly cylindrical. There's
It
no,
does have no ruffles.
it's just a cone. Oh man, we're terrible.
Question 5. What constitutional amendment forbids the quartering of troops in private homes during peacetime? Nick.
The Third Amendment.
The third.
Nice.
Nice.
Question 6. Woodrow Wilson not only attended and was the president of what university, but also coached its... Nick?
Princeton.
Okay, I'm sad I didn't get to finish, so I'm going to say this fact anyway. It's so funny
Nice.
to me. He coached its 1878 college football team to a national championship, according to 3 major selectors.
Wow.
3 major selectors.
Huh. Okay.
I had to jump in as soon as I knew the answer. When you said Woodrow Wilson was president of the college, that was
Yeah.
He
enough
should have
for
stuck
me.
to football.
Princeton, is that Skull and Bones?
No, Yale's
Yale.
Skull and Bones.
Okay.
I'm sure they have some gay stuff they do too.
They have like they have special clubs too.
Question 7. Name either of the 2 airplanes that dropped nuclear bombs on Japan at the end of World War II. Steven.
Is it the Enola Gay?
You got it.
Yeah, everyone knows Enola Gay. No one knows Box. Well, we only remember the Enola Gay.
I've never heard of
That was
either of those.
first.
Yeah, I don't
First.
think I remember that.
We always remember Hiroshima. We always forget Nagasaki.
That's right.
I know those names. I don't know the planes' names.
I think I knew the bombs' names too. just
Yeah,
not-
like Fat Man, Little Boy, or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what. See, I thought that's where the question was going, not the plane names. But
The Enola Gay was in that. There was like a 50s movie or 60s. It was black and white. And it had the guys drawing pictures on the bombs and everything.
oh, okay. Have you seen? What's the name of that movie? Never mind. Doctor Strangelove or whatever.
Oh, where the guy like rides the bomb
Yeah.
on the way down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Honestly,
yeah.
interesting implications, even, but strange movie.
Question 8. What is the name of the current NASA program that aims to return humans to the moon by next year?
Oh my god,
Nick.
Artemis?
You got it.
That is it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and
Got us a
it would be a cool name if the reason for it wasn't heavily woke.
Yeah.
Because the reason why it's because the slogan of the Artemis program is that they want to put the first woman and the next man on the moon. So they named it Artemis because she was the sister of Apollo.
What if they put the first trans person on the moon?
I'm sure there's got to be at least one Greek god who's trans.
Or
And so-
depending on who you ask, the first person on the moon.
I mean, Zeus was kind of trans species, right? He'd be all, human-like, and then he'd be like a goose or something, and then just bang his way through the ancient Greece.
Would their name be
Yeah,
Hermaphrodite?
so technically Hero is the first ancestor.
Sorry, probably bad. It was a good enough joke I couldn't leave it alone, but
No, it was a good one. All right, at the end of round 1, I have Nick with 3, Steven with 2, Alden with 2, audience with 1, Zach with 0.
Knowing Zane, this is all just going to be Taylor Swift trivia.
Knowing
You know
hope
me
so.
so well.
knowing Zane.
Me and Hannah will clean up this round. So.
If that's true, then yeah.
Question 1. Name either the artist who originally released the song Fast Car on her debut album in 1988. Zach.
Tracy Chapman.
Yes, good job.
Tracy Chapman.
Wow.
And the rest of the question was, or the artist whose cover of it was named the 2023 Song of the Year by the Country Music Association, which of course was Luke Combs.
I don't know
Not
that
nearly
one,
as
but
good.
I love the Tracy Chapman one so much.
Mhm.
It's a good song, man. Good job, Zach.
Thank you. I'm out of
Question
0.
2.
Yeah. Not skunked.
Who released this album? Alden.
Bon Jovi.
You got it.
Yep.
Nice.
For our audio listeners, it is a cover of Slippery When Wet.
Which is also the name of the Bon Jovi cover band that plays around Atlanta.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
a good cover band name, honestly. That's funny.
Yeah.
Question 3. The second verse of what patriotic song directs the listener to confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law?
Hmm.
Steven.
Amazing Grace.
No. Nick.
God Bless America.
No. Alden.
Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
Zach.
That song with Toby Keith.
That song was so good. Yes.
No.
I think the audience might.
Some Clack says America the Beautiful.
Yeah, the audience gets it.
Oh, okay.
You can
And
kind of
Brian
sing
said-
it.
Enter Sandman.
Confirm
Was
thy
that something
soul
else,
in
like-
self.
Yeah, I knew the
Organically
melody,
saying
and I
that.
just couldn't remember what it was because a lot of these propaganda songs I haven't thought about. in
Hannah got
years.
it too.
So, I actually like America the Beautiful because I don't think it's propaganda, because it's just talking about the people and the land, which I love.
Mm.
I love America. I just don't like the government.
Yeah.
That, I mean,
there's
really,
a
that
very
one should be the
important
national anthem.
difference.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I like the distinction, honestly, between like the
Yeah, especially because the current national anthem was written in Baltimore, and everything that comes out of Baltimore is shit.
And it was written
Can't
by a
argue with
Frenchie.
Wasn't he a socialist too?
Weren't all Frenchies in that time?
Never mind.
I know the Pledge of Allegiance was written by a socialist. I'm not sure.
That's
about
probably what I was
Francis
thinking.
Scott Key.
Mm.
Never mind. I take back my slander or libel.
Yeah.
what
libel.
was the technical name of what we now refer to as the Nazi salute that they used to do before World War II in America here?
Heil Hitler.
I know what you mean. I'm gonna
Oh,
What was
clip
the
that.
name for it? Like it was the exact
Roman
same thing.
salute?
If you find old pictures, they're facing the flag and doing that. But it
Oh, is
fell
that
out
what
of
they made?
favor.
They made the meme out of that? Sky cloth the man's promises. And the whole classroom of kids is doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the picture I'm thinking of.
All right. Question 4. What is the name of Bruce Springsteen's backing band? Nick.
The E Street Band.
You got it.
Mm. I never really got into Bruce Springsteen, but it does ring very American.
I mean, I know at least one song.
I know. Yeah, I
Born
could
in the
name one,
USA.
Yeah. Well, that and Dancing in the Dark. So I know 2.
Well, yeah, but then or Born to Run, like Hannah mentioned there. But yeah, it's always funny how they bring out Born in the USA when it's really an anti-Vietnam song. They try to play it off as some patriotic thing, and it's really a protest against Vietnam. But
Perfect.
I think it was either like John McCain or Mitt Romney was playing Born in the USA at their campaign stops, and then Springsteen told them to stop.
Yeah, I remember that actually. Who was that? Now I forget. I think it. Oh man, was it Romney? Now I forget. But I
think it
remember
was
the
one of those
whole
two.
kerfuffle or whatever.
All right. These marchers are playing what instrument, which is named Zach,
Sousaphone.
named after John
Nice.
Philip Sousa.
That's right.
So it's not the
Which
tuba.
Susan did the soundtrack for Jurassic Park, I do believe.
I thought it was John Williams.
Oh,
John Philip Sousa did a whole bunch of marches.
Bye, Hannah.
I'm trying to remember what the
Bye.
Some quack got it
what's the
too.
famous
And
Nice.
spelled it
Stars
right.
and Stripes Forever.
Stars and Stripes Forever. That's it. Ba, 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 ba,
I used to be able to play that.
ba, ba.
You know, that was my favorite segment on Kennedy when she was on Fox Business. Is she would just do mouth trumpet sometimes. We should bring that back.
I do
All right.
butt trumpet.
One up.
One down.
Your move, Kennedy.
Yeah.
circular breathing.
What? Okay, question 6. What ongoing concert tour is the first tour to earn over $1 billion? Zach.
The Eras tour.
Yeah,
I told you it was.
so
I told
well.
you it was going to Taylor Swift.
Man, Hannah just missed it too. She just
Oh my god. That's so true. I mean, Zach, you were too fast though.
Yeah,
For the
I thought my
audience.
hand was up first, but you know.
Well, can
See-
anyone name another
I was
concert
just
tour's
gonna
name?
say Taylor
No.
Swift, so I don't know the name of the tour, so I don't know if I would have. Zach, would you have counted that if I said Taylor Swift, or would I need the tour name? Like-
He said tour. You got to say tour. You can't
yeah,
just
see, I
say
wouldn't have
Taylor
got it. Even when I tried to guess Taylor Swift, I'm still wrong. So
I went to it. Me and my wife went in Atlanta.
you saw it?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a Swiftie.
Well, my wife is a huge Swiftie. I
Oh,
like
that's
her.
fair.
I don't like
That's-
most of her newer stuff, but like old school stuff I love. So
I'm not a fan of her new stuff, and I don't like her old stuff. But
My sister went. My sister went to it in Pittsburgh, and then I got dragged down for the second night where we sat outside the stadium.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people doing that here too.
I'm trying to go see Korn in Atlanta in a couple months, so that's
Nice.
that's pretty similar genre, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let me know.
extremely
I'll go
similar.
with you.
I had to pick my sisters up from the MARTA station when they went to go see it in Atlanta.
Mhm.
That was
That must have been rough.
Good times. Good times.
I thought for some reason I thought that was going to be a more interesting story than that.
Well, I mean, could you hear the
Sorry,
train
twice.
coming because a bunch of Swifties were just singing songs the whole time?
It happens to the best of us.
All right. At the end of round 2, Zach is now in the lead with 6.
Nice.
Then Nick was 5, Alden was 4, audience was 3, Steven was 2.
It's a
Edgar Allan
nice,
Poe.
it's a nice straight.
I'm guessing that's an answer in here.
It is the worst poker straight you can have.
It literally is the worst. Yeah. Oh wait, actually no. You can have an ace count as a
Ace
one.
low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there's one. There's one worse, but
We'll
Because
get
they say that like a 2 and a 7 offsuit is the worst poker hand.
Yes.
That's mathematically.
Apparently, you should fold anything with a 2. All the way up to like, I don't know. I'm not going to
What
get
if you
into
have
it.
pocket 2s?
No, then you should. I don't know. I guess depending
Well,
on how much is bet.
If you have,
but-
if you have pocket twos, you're like. I mean, I'd call it at least, and see what you get on the
Yeah.
flop.
Yeah,
but-
you bluff the hell out of that if you got pocket twos. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
All right. Round 3, American literature. Question 1. The Alden.
Mark Twain.
Is that right?
oh my goodness.
Zane, why would you do that? Put Mark Twain first.
I feel like this rule was meant to limit shenanigans, and it's just skyrocketed.
Oh my god, that's seriously my favorite trivia moment in history. Oh my god.
That's ridiculous. That's your
Shenanigans.
fault. Zane.
Oh Jesus. What's
It
the name
is
of that
rigged.
restaurant?
Can't deny that now.
Shenanigans. Oh my god.
So I was hoping it wouldn't be so obvious because the question is actually about one of his lesser known works.
Oh, I didn't wait for anything.
The question was actually about a short story called "The Celebrated Jumping Frog of
Oh, I
Calaveras
would have got that
County."
anyway.
Will you read the question?
credited as the first American comedy, I think.
Yeah.
And he wrote it on a bar napkin as a joke or something, and then he ended up fleshing it out. Anyway, so I actually would have got it anyway.
Yeah, it's about a guy
If that makes you feel better.
bets on how high his frog can jump, but then somebody who bets against him feeds the frog lead while the guy that doesn't jump.
I mean, that's at least better than who was Samuel Clemens?
It's said that it's the first American piece that was written solely for the function of comedy or without some kind of other thing. Anyway, whatever. I would have got it. Anyway, if it makes you feel better. So
Noise.
Noise.
I've heard of it. I would have never been able to
I'm not
recall
familiar
that in
with
the
the
moment.
Mexican jumping frog of southern Sri Lanka.
No, it's
or whatever it's called.
What?
No, it's
All
Mexican staring frog of southern Sri Lanka. Sorry. That's what the story was, right?
You got it.
Question 2.
Nailed it.
Starbucks is named for a character in what novel? Relatedly, the title character of this novel is based on a real-life creature that lived in the waters. Zach?
Battlestar Galactica.
No. The title character... Was that a hand up, Nick?
No, I was not trying to put a hand up.
The title character of this novel is based on a real-life creature that lived in the waters near Mocha Island. Audience gets it. It's Moby Dick.
Nice.
Wow.
You're done.
Starbucks was named after Moby Dick?
Starbuck.
Well, Starbucks was named after a character in Moby Dick called Starbuck, who I think was the first mate on the ship.
I've read the book.
Moby Dick was based on a real-life whale called Mocha Dick.
Well, I never read it, so
I thought it was a white whale. Oh my god.
Well,
once you go black, you can't go back, right?
Mocha Dick. Oh my god.
Well, they did go back.
What was an Endless Pursuit, wasn't it?
I'm just gonna Google Mocha Dick and just see what happens.
Safe search off, please.
That's a rabbit hole right there, I'm sure.
Oh god. Let's hope not. That's bestiality. And I don't want the FBI to find that.
Question 3. Hillbilly Elegy is the memoir of what businessman and current Zach?
J.D. Vance.
Nice.
From the pretend state of Ohio, J.D. Vance.
Hey, that might be future Vice President J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
If rumors keep
Probably not, but
flowing
that'd be nice.
Zach,
Probably
I think
not,
you just took the lead.
Noise.
All right, so it's one question to go. Zach has 9, Alden has 7, audience has 6.
Nice.
So Alden can still win, audience can still tie.
And I can still lose.
Anything can happen.
Question 4. The opening line to a poem by Joyce Kilmer says, I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a what? Zach.
Tree.
How did
That
you
was just like,
Did you just
that was
pull
a
that out of
guess.
your ass?
Yeah,
Well,
it
you know
rhymed.
what?
So
You deserve it. I was gonna say a lady pee, so I wasn't gonna say it. Jake's missing a good trivia, man.
Oh yeah.
This is a lot of fun.
We need Jake here to keep you in line sometime.
all right.
It's too late. The kids are in bed, you know.
We did.
You got
it.
some hair in that picture, man.
Yeah.
You got
Everyone
like
does.
the 80s hair, man.
We're still halfway in trivia right now. I'm getting this out. Nope.
Pull out.
Wait, did I not have that up the whole time? Oh well. This layout is confusing, Jake. I can't do it. There we go. All right. Cool. Trivia.
Good
All
job,
right.
Zach.
So since I just half-assed that, we'll move on to my half-assed drunkard of the week.
Yeah, but you
quick.
half-assed one.
Isn't Drunkard of
Yeah.
the Week the ending segment? Or is that
No,
no?
like funny crap is. So
Funny crap. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, drunkard of the week.
I am not fucking drunk.
Long 19th or blue.
Every pretty girl deserves to go to a ball.
This is everything about it's a clam. I love it.
I gotta be honest with you, I feel like I'm a little bit too drunk to stand up.
On Wiedersehen, asshole.
I'm drunk right now.
Wow, that's tiny.
That
For
is.
some reason. I can't make it bigger. You know, I blame C-SPAN. No, this is TikTok. I thought it was on C-SPAN. Anyway, we're going to watch this tiny man say some ridiculous things. But, you know, this is a very, like, last minute
He's
drunk
not
of
a
the
tiny
week.
man. He's a big boy.
That's true. It's the big one. All right. Let me turn it up. And here we go.
The president will hold a press conference. I guess a big boy press conference is what we're calling it. And take some questions from y'all.
This week, President Biden will speak to national labor leaders of AFL-CIO, hold a press conference, a big boy press conference, according to Justin Singh from Bloomberg.
What are we talking
All right.
about?
That's it. We don't get the cool, like, you know, extra stuff that Jake does because we need him.
No, it's fine. I didn't know
Anyway.
that happened in the world, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. That
Yeah, and that apparently was happening like as we were just joining the show. He was having his big boy press conference. And I just pulled up Drudge Report, even though
Does
they're
he
like,
have the pull-ups now?
Which wasn't
yeah,
he late
he's a
for
big
it?
boy now. Yeah, he was 30 minutes late with no explanation, I guess. Brian
He
told
was
me
eating
that.
he was eating his spinach.
Yeah. And then Brian says that
the
he
drugs just didn't hit
wrong one.
quick enough.
Say that again, Nick.
I was
didn't hear
saying
you.
the drugs didn't hit quick enough.
Oh yeah, that's true. And then Brian said he called Trump his vice president tonight. Drudge
What?
Report said
He introduced Zelensky as President Putin.
Well,
Yeah,
see,
I heard-
what happened there with Biden introducing Trump as his vice president is that Biden is actually so old that he was born before the passage of the 12th Amendment. So he actually thinks that Trump is his vice president because he got
The other
second place in the
candidate.
election.
Yeah. Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
He has
According
what's
to this
Alzheimer's.
one, he didn't just say Trump was his vice president, but he called Kamala Harris Vice President Trump.
It's
better.
honestly extremely
Oh,
fascinating to me how like that debate, like
Oh my
as
God.
bad as it was for Biden, like it may have lost Trump the election because it like the media's knives are out after Biden now. I mean, he's got George Clooney telling him to step down. I mean,
I've started
George Clooney
seeing
says
that.
step
Yeah.
down. Like it's
Yeah, it's
really
like I want
crazy.
Biden
Like,
to stay in for as long as possible.
like it's fascinating. Like everyone all along here, who has like two eyes and is willing to believe what they see, has said that Biden's got severe
I've-
mental decline.
I think
And
there's
then,
some blind people out there that know what's up, honestly.
I mean, he poops himself at least twice on camera. He falls up the steps on Air Force One. Like we're all looking at it like, hey, we know there's something wrong. I mean, it was fairly obvious, and the media is telling us, oh no, and you got the leftists who are like, Trump's in severe mental decline, and it's like, he's not Biden here. Like Biden is extremely bad now. Some places I'm still being gaslit, telling me, what did it say? It was saying that, it's just a stutter, I think was one post I saw. And I'm like, that's not a stutter. I mean, you see his eyes when he's on stage, they are just black. Like they are shooting him up with drugs, and his pupils are so dilated.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Like there's there's no action behind the eyes.
No. I'm familiar enough with this too, man, and like it's looking too familiar here. Like,
yeah. Like I was talking to Brian about this before the show. It's like normally I'm not somebody who's like, all this is planned and like the message went out, but it's kind of hard to ignore this time that like they all turned on a dime at the exact same time.
Yeah.
When this information has been out there for years, like even when he was running for president this last time, it was pretty obvious he wasn't all there. And then this whole like Parkinson's doctor visited the White House 8 times. Like that has been on the White House visitors logs for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he visited 8 times since the debate, but he visited 8 times, just in general. So going before the debate. So I don't know what's going on with this. Like, did some memo go out? It's like, yeah, we don't like this guy now. We're going to try to get somebody else in. But also, who would that somebody be?
Who knows?
I know.
Yeah.
I think the reaction to the debate was so bad that it made kind of everybody realize at the same time that we can't just keep it's become so obvious that we can't just keep pretending anymore.
The issue is like they waited a little too late to rip that bandage off. Like the delegates are already there. He can't. The delegates are forced to vote for him on round 1, unless he personally releases them. And he seems to not be doing that. Although he could be playing it up, but I don't know. I mean, who are you going to stick in? Like Officer Harris probably would actually do worse than him because absolutely no one likes her.
Big Mike.
Big Mike said that specifically she's not going to run. Gavin Newsom seems to be getting trotted out there a lot. I think he was in Philadelphia for the 4th of July. But that would be interesting, being that his ex-wife's father-in-law would be his opponent.
I'm sorry.
My own grandpa.
His ex-wife's future father-in-law. Sorry,
ex-wife's future father-in-law. Hold on. So, run this one by me here. So, somebody is it one of the Kushners or like?
No, Donald Trump Jr. Is engaged to Kimberly Guilfoyle, who was married to Gavin Newsom.
Oh.
These are lizard people. I'm telling you, it's one giant club. You're not in it.
Yeah. Well, did you hear that Huma Abedin just got engaged to Alex Soros today?
Really?
It's a big club, and we're not in it.
That's right. Yeah.
It's the first time I heard that. I didn't even realize that Kimberly Guilfoyle was married to Gavin Newsom. But yeah, I heard that. I'm like, what? And then I looked, and I'm like, holy shit! She was married to Gavin Newsom and is now engaged to Donald Trump Jr.
The problem, I think,
and then of course, Gavin Newsom's the nephew of Nancy Pelosi, and like, you just start looking here, and it's like, holy shit! Like,
yeah,
Well,
and
everyone goes back to Jeffrey Epstein somewhere. Like,
RFK's VP pick is Sergey Brin's ex-wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
the problem that the Democrats will have, though, trying to pick Gavin Newsom over Kamala, is that their entire progressive wing will be like, oh, you're bringing a white man to replace a black woman who's next in line. You're racist. And so it'll just be the entire party eating itself. So that probably won't work out great for them either.
But they're also really, really good at deflecting it, and the progressive wing of it is really good at falling in line.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
There's a portion of the progressive wing that won't fall in line, but in the end, they're going to pull the lever for, it's blue no matter who. For them, they'll bitch and moan, but I mean, how many times have you seen AOC or whoever bitch and moan about this or that, and then pull the lever in favor of what leadership says?
Pull the lever, crunk.
Yeah. The only progressives I like are the ones who already aren't in line. Like, like Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate and Jimmy Dore and people like that. They're cool, but they've been complaining and pointing this out the whole time.
Jimmy Dore
I wouldn't even call Jimmy Dore a progressive.
That's
he probably would have at one point, but not anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But
not
like
anymore,
a classical liberal kind of a guy, like one of those kind of things.
To some extent. I mean, he's extremely based on everything except he wants socialized healthcare.
I'll
get
give
through
him
that.
But
Smith Door 28.
But what the
cool
Democrat
guy.
establishment does realize, above all else, is that Kamala cannot be at the top of the ticket because she will blow it.
Yeah, that's about right.
So,
all right. So I think it's another one you sent in, Steven, and I'll start it a little bit into it. But basically, this lady is here in Chatham County, Georgia, at a Board of Elections meeting, just giving her public statement, which I believe is something anybody can do. You show up, you put your name on a list, and you get 2 minutes to talk or something. I did it at the state house when Defend the Guard was here. You know, I came and said some nonsense for a few minutes and it was over. But in this case, you'll hear that she brought up election fraud, which I guess is, you know, this no-go area. So we'll see what happens.
With opportunities to corrupt the integrity
Why can't
of
I?
our elections in Georgia, even under the best of circumstances. However, we have an added challenge in Chatham County. In Chatham County, I'm sure the board is aware that Mr. Wooten was brought before a grand jury in February by me for allegations of voting irregularities and falsifying documents.
Okay, so she brought this guy before a grand jury, it sounds like.
And his staff, the grand jury recommended that the Board of Elections improve training on chain of custody paperwork. The paperwork reviewed by the grand jury had many blank lines and inconsistent signatures, quote unquote. The chain of custody paperwork was supposed to be provided to me immediately per the grand jury presented to the judge on March 1st, and I have yet to receive it. In addition, the grand jury noted that it received conflicting accounts from Mr. Wooten of what information is contained in the QR code printed on the paper ballot. It is requested that Mr. Wooten obtain this information. They're asking you to leave. They're not allowed. It's against my right. It's against my right to ask. Does everybody have this on film?
They're carrying her out.
Oh yeah.
All right.
So what I couldn't tell from that video was that was her time up, or did they just decide that they didn't want to listen to her anymore?
They didn't say time up, and usually running out of time would result in cutting a microphone or something, not getting
cop
out.
Doesn't walk up to you then, typically.
So that's going to be a lawsuit against those cops and the Board of Elections.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. Not just it's going to come from her personally. It's going to come from the state, and it's going to come from the federal level. Maybe. That's going to be interesting. So there's something that was recently passed here in Georgia that all the ballots have to be hand counted, or if there's any kind of discrepancy, that there has to be a hand counted ballot, something like that. Because I think. What was it? Was it the primaries? I mean, there was something this year in DeKalb County. There was a precinct with 90-something thousand people that reported over 180,000 votes. And
wait, a single precinct had 90,000 people?
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot for a precinct.
DeKalb County, Georgia, man. I'm just density.
I was listening to Binkley's show before this, the propaganda report, and he had Garland Favorito on, and he was saying that they've now banned the drop boxes in Georgia. So if you want to drop your ballot off, you have to do it at the elections division. And then there's a few other things I don't remember. So, go listen to that episode. But I don't know. There was been slight improvements made, but then there were still things he said, I feel like it was nearly 3,000 ballots that were counted twice. And then they certified a certain amount of ballots, and then they can only prove they had way less than that. And I feel like the number was over 10,000 less that they could prove they had. And they just certified these ballots that we'll never see. They don't have proof of, they don't have scans of or anything.
This is the same math as GameStop shorts.
Yeah.
Look, you're all conspiracy theorists. Nobody no one counting in the 2022 election told the poll watchers to go home. We were done for the night, and then turned off the lights, and as soon as they were gone, turned the lights back on and pulled ballots out from under a table that was covered illegally.
That definitely
didn't happen. We didn't see that on camera.
Yeah, it didn't happen in Marietta and Atlanta. No, not at all.
So,
yeah, there's videos where you can see them scanning a stack of ballots and then picking it back up and scanning it again, and then picking it back up and scanning it again. It's like maybe there's some reasonable explanation for that, but it really looks bad. And then when they just come out and tell you to shut up, that's not a good answer. Like, at least give us a valid reason why you did that.
And then like Garland, would always bring that up, and he's like, it's obvious because whenever you stick it back in, it's the exact opposite of what it was before. So you run it through, and then it comes. Then you pick it up and throw it on the back, and it runs through backwards. So you've got the complete inverse. So if you just look and see, you can tell that. And then every court case on it gets tossed out on standing or this or that or whatever. There hasn't been a single court case ruled on the merits from what I could tell. It was always tossed out on standing or some other procedural issue. So like from what I can tell is that like nobody has standing to challenge an election in the courts. Like that seems to be where that goes.
Yep.
So
I know if I'm at the store and if they ring up my milk 3 times, I'm gonna ask why.
And
of
then,
course.
No, that's just the grocery store punishing you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's just a greedy grocery store. But yeah, I mean, like Chatham County has a whole bunch of problems, man. The coastal Georgia in particular, like the northeast, the northern part of the coast of Georgia, that whole area. I mean, property taxes in Chatham County, I think what is it, like across the board, they're up 40% this year. I mean, it was something crazy. Jessica Zalagi with the Georgia Virtue, she just gave some stat breakdowns, and check her page
Savannah
out
in
too.
Chatham County.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I used to live in Chatham County then.
Yeah.
And then as while we're on the subject of this, I guess today, Gretchen Whitmer signed in a bill that prohibits recounting votes based on allegations of election fraud.
Really? You would think that'd be the most important allocation that you would want to consider.
To be fair,
you may as well name the act so that it's an acronym, and the acronym spells out Biden wins.
Right. So
Biden
there's part of it that's like, although part of it is once the votes are in place, I don't know how you would figure out what the deal is, but this just looks like fortifying our election, fortifying our democracy. As long as democracy means rule by Democrats.
Wow.
So like, I don't know how often you even challenge based on.
So you get some states are putting provisions in place for hand counted recounts, and other states are banning recounts. And then what Brian just pointed out in the chat too, Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections gone through 2 chairs so far this year.
Someone doesn't want their hands on whatever's about to happen.
One resigned, I think, in February, and the other one stepped down just earlier this week.
Yep.
So, yeah,
they need to appoint Brian or Zane. Zane, you got to take the job
if I have to.
Yeah. Well, hey, Zane, I think you single-handedly did away with the jail. They're not doing that anymore. They scrapped those plans.
Oh, that was totally because of me.
Absolutely, man.
That's a Liberty Libations win.
We did that.
We stopped them from spending billions of dollars on.
I was going to say it was like
they're only going to spend hundreds of millions on rehabbing the current one.
Yeah, it's just a $300 million reno now.
You know, it was also $300 million. The temporary pier that the Biden administration built into Gaza and then shut down after it was destroyed in 2 weeks or something, 2-3 weeks, 20 days, whatever it was. And they finally decided that they're scrapping the whole project and not doing that anymore. So,
okay,
your tax dollars hard at work there.
My next guess was going to be the Fern Hollow Bridge in Pennsylvania that collapsed when Biden was on the way to Pittsburgh to speak about infrastructure.
Yeah, I don't even think the bridge was that much. I don't think that bridge was that much. I mean, they got a new one up pretty damn quick, I think.
Yeah, they built it. They built it within a year. They ignored the repairs for 14 years. They got reports. They had like 3 or 4 reports a year for 14 years saying, "Yo, it's about to break," and nothing happened because it was nobody's job to really fix it. But then when it collapsed, they got it replaced within a year.
Well, not too far from that area, which it's actually fascinating that no one actually died in that. But No, there's a bridge not too far from that one. Was a bridge. I believe it's been replaced since, called the Greenfield Bridge, that goes over one of the central highways going into Pittsburgh, coming from like the PA Turnpike down into Pittsburgh. And the Greenfield Bridge was falling apart so much they put basically a bridge
Like a
underneath
net.
it to catch the debris.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen where they build it's almost like net scaffolding.
Like at one
to...
point that that bridge was used as an example on like one of John Oliver's shows at one point on how bad like infrastructure was. They literally erected a structure.
Was his solution more government interference?
Probably,
as always.
But at least it was like, it was calling out that like, yeah, instead of fixing this thing, we just stuck we stuck a catching bridge underneath it so that if the concrete falls, it's not going to hit cars on the highway.
See, the problem is we're not spending enough on bureaucrats to not fix the bridge.
Yeah. We need a governing body to go around and monitor bridges, and then another one to work on them, and then another one to tell them how to work on them. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened with was it the Fern Hollow Bridge? What was it called?
Sleepy Hollow.
Fern Gully.
It had some Ichabod Crane vibes to it. I don't know. I think it was something like Fern Hollow, Sleepy Hollow, whatever it was. But I mean, seriously, there was a decade of reports saying it needed to be fixed because it had to do with like the storm drain inlets that were on each side of the bridge before it had gotten clogged, and so the water was not draining below the bridge; it was rolling over the top of it. And it was the type of steel that it was built with, weathering steel. So it has this patina on it that has to be maintained every couple of years. Otherwise, it'll rust out and jeopardize the structural integrity of the steel. And they were reporting on that for like 10 years. I'm like, hey, this needs to be fixed.
And isn't it just like unclogging a drain? That's not even the most complicated fix, right?
Exactly. I mean, like unclogging the drain was step one. That would have allowed it to live even longer.
Yeah.
But you still need to scrape off the patina every couple of years to see how much steel is actually left.
Well, so that might have been Fern Hollow. It was something with the steel on that. But I mean, if you want to talk about Pittsburgh incompetence, I'm not even sure the water fountains in the parks are turned on in Pittsburgh right now because they have one plumber. And they were going, look, the plumber's got to open up the bathrooms and fill the pools before he can get around to turning on the water fountains. And like part of me, like I messaged our group here and I texted our Senate candidate and I'm like, dude, it'd be a great campaign ad if we went down to Pittsburgh to one of those water fountains, busted it open and turned it on and went, look at that. It's that easy when you get the government out of the way. Which is completely illegal to turn that knob yourself, but like, because I texted our guy in Allegheny County, I'm like, yo, these water fountains would just be turning a knob, right? He's like, yeah, you would literally just turn a knob there.
But if you turn the knob on the water fountain, you're taking jobs away from good union men and women. Don't you understand?
That's the issue. Is that there's one person there's one union plumber employed by the city of Pittsburgh, and only that union plumber can turn the knob on. And I'm like, you've got a whole parks department, and these guys, like, all right, so college story time, right? I went to I went to school in Pittsburgh, and every
I never knew that.
Well, I mean, I live in Pittsburgh, but I'm born here and I stayed. So every spring there was a what we called spring carnival, and so you'd get like Thursday and Friday off from classes. This was kind of the last hurrah because afterwards you had like 2 weeks to buckle down and get ready and study for finals. So, nerd school I went to, this was like the big party weekend. And Friday, my fraternity would get the pavilion near campus in Shenley Park. So,
did we lose Nick?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you got muted, Nick. Yeah, sorry. Still can't hear you.
You might have to leave and
now you're frozen. On the edge of my seat for that.
Yeah. All right.
Nick,
well, we need to start.
Pop back in. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick. Sorry. Anyway.
Sorry.
We need to start wrapping up anyway. So
I was just gonna say I gotta go soon, but
yeah. Steven, do you have anything to plug or anything going on right now?
Nothing huge. I mean, our affiliates lining up some things for the summer. I think we're going to be tabling an event soon. I mean, we're looking at some of the market stuff, but nothing set in stone just yet. So, yeah, nothing really to plug right now.
Anyway,
okay.
Am I back?
Yeah, continue and then just tell us anything you got going on. We're gonna wrap up, so let us know about your like candidacy and anything else you got going on in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So my fraternity every year would take during Spring Carnival on Friday. We would have the party called Pavilion in the afternoon, where we'd go and we'd drink at the Pavilion in the park all day, and we usually got a trailer with taps on it. And my sophomore year, we had Red Bull like sponsoring us. So like we had a Red Bull branded bus serving Red Bull with Red Bull girls and everything, running from campus over to the park, just back and forth. It was pretty sweet. Got there, and the city parks employees came over and were hanging out, I guess. And someone told them that the taps weren't working right, so they went over there and they fixed the taps. And then the one I saw him go onto the Red Bull bus and come off and was like, "Oh, I can't believe you guys did this." Then I turned around a little while later and they were going down the slip and slide shirtless. So, there's parks employees that could be doing things, but are instead fixing beer taps, getting drunk, and slipping and sliding during work. So
sounds about right.
All right. Any plugs you got, Nick?
Yeah. So for some reason, I'm running for Pennsylvania State Treasurer. The website is nixie4pa.com. I'm still trying to get a bank account going and get donations going, and the website's not great right now, but that's the biggest thing. I got Bitcoin Caucus going a little bit too, which is, for all of us good Bitcoiners trying to Bitcoin our way around things. So fix the money. So that's the big things going right now. But
okay,
yeah, if you're in Pennsylvania, I'd appreciate your vote this fall and help us keep minor party status. And if not, when the website's up, I'd appreciate a couple of bucks. Help me out.
Yeah, we should definitely get more Pennsylvanian listeners since we dedicated like half the show to talking about it. So
it's a wild place sometimes.
Yeah. Alden, you got anything to say to carry us out?
I mean, no. No. I'm sorry that I'm not drinking alcohol this month, and I'm sad for people that can't have chickens. That's my plug.
Okay.
And what about you, Zane?
Well, I would tell people to come to the LP Hilton meetup in a couple of weeks, but I'm not going to be there because I'm going to be on vacation. So.
Oh, where are you going?
Going on a cruise with some family.
That's Wonderland.
Nice.
So.
All right.
The less I think about anything that I otherwise would be plugging, the better.
Yeah, you want to unplug right now. So
I think we all do.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just mention the Great Create, which is coming September 27th and 28th in Omaha, Georgia at Omaha Brewing Company. So this is a festival which is now in its second year. We had one last year in Perry, Georgia, had all sorts of great speakers like Shane Hazel and Mark Passio and Derek Bros and
that mushroom guy.
He's on here too. He's coming back.
There he is. He's
Alan
got the
Carroll
in there.
The vermiculture.
Yeah, we're trying not to have like a ton of repeats, but there are going to be some. But also, I feel like last year Alan got a little cut short, so definitely want to have him back and give him all the time he needs to tell us about mushrooms. He's a mushroom expert. We have someone coming to talk about homeschooling. We got our friend Edgar Mills coming to talk about firearms training and things like that. And then the headliner this year is Will Harris of White Oak Pastures, which he is a.
Hey, I buy their beef.
Yeah, I do too. They have
White
a
Oak's a big
Kroger
name.
even. Yeah, he was on Rogan, I think.
They're big in the Bitcoin space too, I think.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Right? I think they're. I think they've had a an event with the Texas Slim whenever he, in his Bitcoin initiative, his Beast Fit initiative with Bitcoiners, shake a rancher's hand and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a solid get there.
Yeah.
What time
I'm
of
excited
day
about it.
does the event kind of like start and finish?
We really haven't solidified that, but it's typically like a late start, like maybe 10, 11, 12 starting, and then going as long as they'll have us. So,
like into the night, or I wasn't at the last one.
Into the wee hours.
Into the night, but again, it's a business, so they're gonna close at like 9 or 10.
Okay.
And they're probably I think there's gonna be like camping this year. We're not really like probably opening that to everybody, but there will be people just like camping out if they don't want to spring for an Airbnb or a hotel or whatever. They're allowing camping on site. So there may be people hanging out all night for all I know. I'll be there.
Will you be getting comedy by Tower Gang at this event?
I don't think we're gonna do comedy again this year, but we do have entertainment. We have
what about Sunglasses Genius? Sunglasses Jesus.
I hope he comes, but I don't know if he can go off to the side and do some stand up. I don't know if we're gonna have an official stand up thing though. But we'll have entertainment. Hickory Roots is gonna be playing some bluegrass and folk music.
Who was the music?
The Bib City Ramblers.
Yeah, it's actually the same people. I was trying to play it off there, but they changed their name. So.
Okay.
Way to blow that up, Nick.
You had me convinced that we had booked another group that was like the same exact genre, but a different.
Hey, I like them because they got conspiratorial and stuff.
They were great. I did not expect that, and I loved it. They weren't just a bluegrass and folk, band or whatever, but they actually sang like conspiracy and libertarian type songs.
A conspiracy
so
song.
fun.
That's interesting.
Yeah, in bluegrass, it was so
didn't
fun.
They have a song called like Rabbit Hole or something? If I remember right.
I don't remember, but you can go check out their stuff on YouTube.
They had a song specifically calling out Klaus Schwab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's not like super. It's not super cheesy. Like, I don't know. There's been some like libertarian singers or bands before where you're just like, okay, guy, you're just not good.
Right.
But these are like solid musicians.
Oh yeah.
Like
music first. Right.
Yeah. Like they're really good. And they play a lot of just regular bluegrass and regular folk. And as the night was going on and people were drinking more, they're like, all right, let's bust out these conspiracy songs and see how the crowd reacts. The crowd
late night
loved it.
crowd song.
Loved it.
That's funny.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. And there's gonna be all sorts of workshops and stuff too with just little things here and there. Like we got somebody that's gonna be doing cooking on a fire, like a campfire. And then we got Alex Moldenhauer and Ethan Lee are gonna be doing sort of like a Linux type class or workshop where it's like you can bring in your old computer that you think is no good anymore. You could do that if it comes to it, or maybe they can get Linux on there and it'll be running like new, where maybe Windows is a little bit too much for it these days, but so you can actually go home with something useful. And now we have Christopher Wilkie's doing yoga there, so it's gonna be a good time. Just all sorts of stuff going on. Early bird tickets are available now, so go to thegreatcreate.org and click on get tickets. And it's just $32 for 2 days worth of this stuff. So all sorts of speakers, all sorts of classes. And then, just hanging out with people like us. And it's at a brewery. So that's going to be fun. Omaha's great. I've had their beer. I enjoyed it. It's going to be a fun time.
Will Buddy be making sandwiches?
Oh, I really hope so. I know Buddy's excited for this. So
I hope Omaha makes the 762 lager for Edgar Mills. Because they did one time that it was like a salute to the troops or something like that, but it was a 7.62 lager. It was 7.62%, oddly enough.
Oh, nice.
It was really
That's
good.
A specific gravity though.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. I'll ask my guy there if they can do it. So I don't know if I have that pull. We'll see, but that'd be fun. And then the last thing I have to plug is just go check out my other podcast that I do with Elizabeth Melton, Banished Big Brother. we'll be doing another episode tomorrow. But
nice.
Go check that out. And thanks for your review, Alden. I read that.
Oh yeah,
it was nice.
I'm gonna watch the next one, man, or listen to it. I guess I'm not gonna watch it. But
well, there is video. It's
is
totally
there really?
not
I
necessary.
just went on what is it, iTunes or whatever. So
yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. Like
So
it's just me on video.
She generally isn't big on appearing on video.
No, it's just me talking to a screen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, do it on audio. You're not missing anything except staring at me. The other day I came on super sunburned, so like you're not missing anything at all. But anyway, that's it for this episode of of Liberty Libations. I was trying to vamp while I looked for the outro. So
are we doing funny stuff?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was gonna get to that.
Yeah,
thank goodness. I have one.
Okay,
so
it's a good ending.
Sure. Here we go.
I got time for one.
It's just another Biden. I mean, I know we're piling on. This is from Grumpy Gnome. The future of America is not lost.
I've never thought I'd see a time when I'm going through a neighborhood or a rural town in the West and see big signs. I see a Trump sign in the middle that says F. Biden, and having a little kid standing with his middle finger, 7 years old, 8 years old. Oh, I promise it happens all the time.
I'll bet it does. Oh man,
he's not going to read anything into that. That means nothing. So,
man,
good stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a good end.
Well, let's go, Brandon. And I finally found the outro, so we're done. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Back with Jake, and hopefully things running well. See you guys.
Peace.